All right, we are all sorted out over here, getting ready for the festivities. Yo, guys, come on, shut up. Damn it, how loud these people are. If I say talk, you talk. That's how it goes. Talk. Shut up. Yeah, very well, very well. All right, let's get a cheer to get the festivities on the road. Boom!
Are you ready? Call your mama, call your papa, call your friends. The festivities are about to begin. Boom!
All right then. Oh, to the hells to the yeah. We are live on this Friday festivities, which is in March 11th of 2022. T minus 4 days for the JG birthday. I don't even know how old I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be. Am I? Am I 47 or am I gonna be 47? I think I'm gonna be 47 this year. I'm gonna be 47. Yeah. I was got confused for a second. I've been thinking because I never, never say my age. I am actually 46. Yeah, I never say I will be 47. Yeah. March 15th is the day. It's gonna be nothing special, spectacular, but I'm just gonna mention it, and hopefully we get a little bit of love on my birthday for by supporting and hanging out here and having all kinds of good stuff. How is the sound over there? I think we can see that we got the squeaky earth very visible over here. They shifted over this side of the axial of the squeaky earth. So shout out to the frog family. They are all hanging in here. Let's see if we can do a squeak. When I moved them earlier this morning, I don't know if I don't know if this is gonna squeak now. Little legs can get a little tangled. We got baby frog. He goes, Mobbit, Mobbit. Mama frog goes, Mobbit, Mobbit. Papa frog goes, Mobbit, Mobbit. Shout out to the population of Squeaky Earth, which is the frog family. I think we're ready to squeak it. Let's give it a go. Here we go. Oh, yeah, they're doing great. Look at that. The conservation of momentum. They don't even know that they're squeaking inside this squeaky earth. This is fantastic. Hey, yo, you gotta get off her back for a few minutes. We're gonna set you up here. Are you watching at the screen? So okay, so you're watching at the screen, but you're also watching me at the same time. You see, you gotta love lazy eye fragment. Whoa, shit. And and what's up with this one? Illuminati confirmed. Why you hiding an eye there? Now we gotta get you both eyes in there. Yeah, yeah. You gotta watch the full show. Baby frog, baby frog. All right, just come over here. There you go. Dangling, dangling. Don't fall off the squeaky earth. I hope everybody is doing well and excellent. It is Friday, and we are fucking ready to do it. I were in kindergarten when Sean Hawkins graduated from high school. I actually started. I never went to kindergarten. I went to first grade when I was 5, directly to first grade when I was 5. So I might have been on first grade when you graduated high school. Fucking A. Yeah, I graduated in 92. Boom. Shout out to everybody in the YouTube box. We got Jomongus was in first. Very good to see you, Jomongus. Marcus Dresden. Nice timing, excellent. I'm happy to do that. Carl Christopherson, boom. M Stone, yeah, good timing, you think so? Shout out to M Stone. Martin says boom. Boom to you, Martin. Boom to you. Earth is live. Boom. Also, boom to Earth is life. No name. Driving to work. Wait, do you work? Shout out to RT96. Oi. Balance truths. You're still wrong. You are still wrong. That is the title of the show. Shout out to Balance Truth. Charlie Welch. What up, bro? What up? Justin Franks. Hello. Truth Nerds. Hello. I am also new, Truth Nerds. I am happy that you are new and everyone else is also new. Very good to hear that. Very good indeed. If you are lurking in the background, pop in the YouTube chat box. We are getting down there slowly but surely. Stefan Mudd, and here we go again. Yes, we are. Science set out. Hello. Well, hello. What do I want for my birthday? I want good health and a long life. That's what I want for my birthday. And also lots and lots of money. So I try to start catching up with the bills, you know. That's what I need, lots of money. Angry Doggy! Angry Doggy in the house. Gary Waibenga, good moo Earth to everyone. Shout out to Gary Waibenga. Zebulon 181. It is Boom Day. Yes, it is. Truth and Nerds goes, mob it. Balanced asked me a question. Do I think they came up with the method of measurement before they knew the shape of the Earth? You have to clarify one point. This amount of points you got to clarify. Who is they and who is they? You want to know if I think that they, I don't know who they are, came up with the method of measurement before they knew the shape of the Earth. So you got to clarify me this one point. Who are they that you're asking for? When you tell me who are they, then I might be able to then re-ask me the question more specifically, and then I'll answer to you. Deal? Let's see if you can do that. We have in the house Sean Hawkins. What up? Doofus Manfred. What up, Doofus Manfred? Doofus Manfred always coming in with solid points and solid questions. I appreciate the shit out of him. Big time. Master Kalik is in the house. Master Kalik, did Gary Webenga admitted that bottom-up obstruction is globe evidence? Wow. That is very good, very good. Genesis! You are maybe like number 27th, but you are here. We are part of the boom. You are good. You are okay. We are all in the same boat. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Tusk! What up, Tusk? Patio furniture, boom! Triple croquet, boom! Tectonic frog movement is what we witnessed earlier over here. WS! The frogs like science papers. Ask them about the papers about gravity and space. They will say they read it. Hey, read it! Shout out to WS! Woo! Brad Wegner! Where did I get this squeaky earth? This was in the previous place that I used to live, and this squeaky earth, for the 2 years that I lived there, it was thrown behind the fence in a big, like, pond, like abandoned pond, and everybody threw garbage in there, and this was halfway buried down the earth, down the dirt. That's where I found Squeaky Globe. I digged it out, I hosed it down, I asked the owner, he said, that's garbage. I say, can I take it? He say, please do. That is garbage, dude. He say, this is garbage. Fucking A. Fantastic. That was a great finding for me. Good times. And we got a super chat by Tusk for €5. I say Tusk, and all the spit came out like Tusk. £5 super chat. I can't do a lot and lots of money, but here's a little to get you started. Also, Gary Webenga can kiss my plums. Hey, thank you very much, man. £5 is more than I had before the show started. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody can support a little bit. Yeah, no idea. I'm in a little really tough spot. I but the beauty of it is I keep smiling. I dedicate these few hours for you guys to hang out with you and escape from my personal dilemma that I'm dealing with. That is, I'm behind in everything. Like I'm behind big time. But it's okay. I entertain the idea that maybe I'm gonna catch up and you guys are gonna support a little bit, and that keeps me motivated. And I'm gonna have a laugh. I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna be entertained and my mind out of the gutter and focusing this in with you guys here in the YouTube universe. And that's beautiful, man. Stone Monkey, I see you, man. Excellent, excellent. Let's see if we can. Let's see if we can get the Discord rolling. I'm gonna shut down this video camera and see if we can get Discord up and it will be visible. The Discord server, the Daily Boom, is the place where the festivities will take place, and I hope that y'all are able to entertain the idea of coming in and, I don't know, hanging out with us over here. If you jump in, let us know because I might not see you. When I talk a lot, I get this frog on my throat. It bothers me, man. It's annoying. Okay, we got this sorted. Discord is going good. Hey, invite. Let's invite some people in. Let's invite. Well, not really. That's not the way. We got Grubus Wybingus. Grubus Wybingubus. That's the way, right?
Yeah, that's it. How are you, man?
I like that. Everything is good, man. Hanging in here, you know.
Where is everyone?
Everyone, it's Friday. They might be just hanging out over there. Whoa, No Name hit me up with a big $10 super chat. $10 is payday. Boom. Shout out to No Name. Thank you very much, brother. I really appreciate that. Hell yeah. 27 Genesis is 27th temporarily, but you are first in my heart, Genesis. Thank you. Well said. Throats are fake. I mean, frogs are fake. Yeah. We got Earth is live and Grievous here. So, Earth is live.
Hey, what's going on, Jose?
What's up? People keep calling you B-Ball. You don't mind, right?
I don't mind. That was my old name. I don't mind.
Yeah. It's a little easier to call you, hey, B-Ball, do this, or B-Ball, say, you want to answer this? B-Ball, hey, B-Ball got a point. That since Earth or Earth is life is, if B-Ball rolls out of the tongue easier.
Yeah. Kind of like everyone still calls Lemon Bird, even though he's Fifthicist, or he pretty much changes his name every other week.
I think it's Lemon. I think Lemon Bird real name is Auriv, and that's the name he uses on YouTube. I mean, I don't know. It's just the name that I want to think is his real name. You know. What's they call him, Lemon? You know. Chike is in the house, and Genesis is here.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
I see 46 viewing, only 24 likes. What's up with that?
Yo, I never even mentioned that if you're watching this, you should hit that like. It's free, it's easy, it's convenient. I mean, there's nothing to lose. Just hit the thumbs up and support the channel by doing so. And you can also support via Super Chat or PayPal. When I see somebody just typed Jose PayPal, well, Brad Wagner just typed that. And I'm gonna log in and see what's going on over here, and we will take it from there with the title of the show and see if we can dig into it. Yo, I actually got two big hits over here on PayPal. Brad Wagner with a big $20 PayPal. Happy birthday, boom! Yo, thank you very much, man. Hey, 4 days earlier, I'll take it, brother. Thank you so much. And Hapax sends a token of his appreciation. Hapax Legos, I think he is. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. See, and then these moments is like, yeah, there's still hope out there, you know? All is good. Oh, and speak of there's hope, Dora Unku with a big €5 super chat. Dora says you should ask the Morgile for some tips on how to fleece the audience, Jose. That was funny. That's good. I appreciate that. Shout out to Dora. Shout out to the Morgile. I hope he's doing okay. Oh man.
So what's the topic, Jose?
Well, the title of the show is You Are Still Wrong.
Yeah, there's a few people like that.
Yeah, what inspired me to title it like this? You want to give me some ideas?
Just people thinking they're right and they're nothing they do is ever going to be right. It is always going to be wrong.
Well, beautiful.
Could it be?
Very well. We got a big
even in the face of all the evidence telling them that they're wrong and they still think they're right.
Yeah, man. We got Big Blue in the house. Big Blue, have you heard this phrase coming your way? You are wrong, or you are still wrong. Big Blue is playing with in the little kids play yard today with Bev and his crew. So I'm just gonna leave you alone. Maybe Blue, maybe they want to come in and play with you in voice, right? How you doing?
Maybe so, yeah. Maybe so. They could come in and play.
Did anybody see that upload that video I just put out with Brandon?
Yeah, I watched that.
That was epic.
Yeah,
Bev managed to get Brandon out of his mind totally.
Yeah, those are those good old times on the Brandons when they were arguing to each other. Beautiful stuff. Dude, we already got 53 people watching. Excellent, man. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. We are in the Discord server, the Daily Boom. There is a link in the description box, but I'm going to throw a link on YouTube so you guys can easy click it and join us over here in the call. And this is kind of an open topic. I mean, you're still wrong, but it's an open topic. Blue, who have told you that you are wrong or you are still wrong? Probably today you heard that, right? From certain people.
Oh, I hear it on a daily basis.
Ooh, ouch.
I think pretty much everybody on the flat Earth side goes out of their way every morning to figure out what they're going to tell me I'm wrong about this time. That's okay.
Now, when some people tell you that you are wrong, I mean, some people actually argue to you and say that you are wrong in something related to flying a plane or some type of measurements of math for like Cavendish and all this stuff, and some kind of geometry explanations and equations. People actually there to tell you that you are wrong, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, I've had a lot of that.
That is crazy.
It's rather. I just think it's funny.
And I'm famous now because I was so stupid to listening to Bev that when he told me that a sextant only can measure 60 degrees and below. And then I got famous participating in Blue's video there about it.
Oh yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you,
you
Blue.
did. You did a great job too, Genesis. I was very impressed with the way you handled all of that.
Thank you.
Much better than I could have done, for sure.
But I really didn't know about the sextant.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't, and Bev didn't know either. Obviously, now he's come back later and tried to say that that he actually has a sextant, and it says 120 on the side of it. I've got the
he said he had one, and there was 120 on the side, so he should.
My question becomes simply: if you knew it was 120, why were you lying to Genesis? Why? What was the point? I still don't get it.
I think he just felt that I didn't know the answer, so he took the chance to brag about his knowledge about the sextant.
Whoa!
I honestly don't think he knew the difference. I don't think he knew that.
And that's kind of why I haven't even touched on the subject of sextants, because I don't know about sextants, so I don't even enter into those arguments. I mean, if you don't know, you just don't know.
Well, that's true. I mean, you're not born knowing about a sextant, and it's not.
Yeah. A lot of them
like
to fake as if they know what the hell they're talking about, or they've used it before, or
Yeah.
I think if Bev is reading stuff and he don't understand it, and then he takes some guess of what is meaning. I have an example that he talked about this. It's proof by contradiction. And he saw some article that if you have in your logic have a contradiction, the logic will blow up. If you have a contradiction in your logic, you can prove anything. So therefore, you cannot have any proof by contradiction. And no one was there to explain it to him. So it stands as a truth for the minions.
Well, I don't know how logic would prove that something that's 60 degrees isn't 60 degrees when measured.
I just find it amusing to listen to night after night a whole room full of adult men trying to figure out what a damn triangle is.
Wait,
this whole week he has talked about the fifth postulate of Euclides. That he calls it the triangle postulate, and he's talking about that all week, over and over again. Just ridiculous.
It's just funny.
I mean, he goes over that stuff like all the time. I don't understand why he's still stuck on that same subject. It's time to move on, Bev, if you're listening. Just time to move on.
Well, just to follow up with a checkup on, I think the stream is looking clean today on YouTube. Just very nice dark box with the icons, little chat box, and the viewers. And everybody say it looks good and sounds good, but we got Sean Hawkins with a different feedback. He say everybody's microphone is clipping. I don't know, man. That might be on your end, Sean, because everybody else say that it sounds good. Well, we shall see. Just guys, everybody, let me know if it's bad for everybody else. I don't know what I can do, and by clipping, I mean maybe you get one little clip in between your sentences, you know. So I cannot do anything about it. It's my laptop, and it is what it is. But we hear the whole thing 99%. It's not like we're hitting an 80% or 50% off. It's a 99%. Okay. Yeah. Good.
I have been bullied at the Bev's channel that my English is so bad. They even said I was worse than Johnny Bernard. You know who that is?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
lie.
the drunk Swede. So I was a bit sad about that, but I love to listen to you, Jose, your channel. Your English is excellent.
Dude, I appreciate it. I think it sucks because it sucks so much, and I still
it doesn't suck.
and I still speak it. I think it's good, you know, because it sucks. I'm happy with the level of my English speaking skills.
But you're 1,000 times better than I am. So.
No, don't put yourself down, man. We are the same, man. If we speak English, if we can talk to each other, communicate to each other, that's all we need. There's nobody better than others, you know. Actually, the better person is the one that don't criticize. If something is bad, we must criticize at least what's good about things, you know. And you're doing great. You're speaking English is very understandable. Yeah, we're happy. I'm happy with it.
Thank you, Jose.
Yep. Oh, it's good. Did I just did hold on because earlier I didn't I don't know, I think I did a boo-boo because I think that Beeble, did you send me $10 today? Why in the hell did I give you a shout out? I thought it was $10 from yesterday, but yesterday it was Humongous who sent me $10. You actually sent me a big $10 today. Thank you, Beeble. Appreciate it, brother.
Just now, yeah, not too long ago. That was me.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, I just realized. I said, like, yeah, I got 3 notifications, but we got Brad Wagner, we got Apex Legos, and the third one is you, people. Thank you, brother.
No problem.
Good. Yeah.
So, really quick. Also, I remember last time you were saying you were having problems with your PC. Are you still having problems? Did you fix it or no?
No. Still, I turn it on every day, and poof, go to the same boot screen. That boot screen, it doesn't go past.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna send you the a new I guess probably your hard drive is probably corrupted, so you just gotta. I'll send you the new hard drive, and then
Yeah.
you just gotta reinstall Windows on it. But you're gonna have to try and like remove. Do you have like files and stuff on there that you're trying to get off?
Yeah, I mean a lot of files. I mean, but if I don't, I mean, if I can't remove it, I can't remove it. I'd rather have the computer working, you know.
Is it wait? Is it a spinning drive or is it a SSD drive?
Dude, you got me. You're gonna have to look at it and tell me. I have no
Is it a
idea.
big giant? Is it a big giant square box, or is it a little square box?
I think it's a small one. I'm not sure, man. I have to look at it.
It was an M.2, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, well, you could buy an M. Well, I don't know. When I say buy, it means you got to spend more money.
I'll show it to you
could,
later, maybe later today or the next, you know.
If you could send it to me, maybe I can like try and grab all the files off of it because I have an external M.2, like a little.
Like a
It's kind of like a thumb drive.
Right.
Like you put the M.2 drive in there, and it's kind of works as like a thumb drive. And I can try and remove all the files off of it. I mean, if you want to, I don't know if you wanted to do that.
I don't mind. I don't have anything like private in there, you know. I mean, I from my private stuff, like my family and pictures and videos and stuff, but there's nothing private. Like there's no porn. I never did porn. I never did anything weird or strange in it. It's just my search, you know, all that stuff, you know.
Yeah. If you want, you can try and like send it to me, and I'll try and transfer all the files onto a different drive.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
And then I can send it back to you. That way you don't lose anything.
That'd be awesome, man. I mean, and there's a lot of after shows. I mean, there's probably 50 gigabytes of after shows that I had downloaded. But if that's not possible to download, don't, you know, Don't mind. Don't worry
Oh
about that.
no, if it's on there, I'll try and get it.
Yeah. Or also, yeah, you can. I don't know. You want to maybe like upload if you get access to those, downloading, uploading on your channel, like unlisted or private. Send me a link and I can download them on my end. We can do something like that. You know, is
Okay,
we
yeah,
can
that
kind of
works.
work around it. Yeah.
Yep. So just send it to me and I'll see what I can do.
We'll do that, but still, in the next few days, still gotta have to call you like in a private Discord and with the camera. You gotta tell me what it is. I'm computer
Okay.
illiterate on what the parts are. You know.
Yep. Too easy. We can do that.
Good, man. Yeah, appreciate it. All right.
I remember Brian. Was it yesterday? Brian was asking about the analemma. Yeah, no, he was had
Mm-hmm.
questions about the analemma.
Yep.
Well,
Brian was here.
I was able to create one using Space Engine. So at first I did it with just one day every month. I took like a screenshot of the sun, one day every month, and it comes out, but the more days you use, it looks a lot better. So I did 2 days every month,
All right.
and I did like a little short video, and you can see it creates it creates the analemma.
I saw that clip yesterday. You posted it on the Discord.
Yeah.
It's really
So
cool.
next I'm gonna try and do one in the southern hemisphere and see if it looks I mean, obviously it should look opposite. Like the larger loop should be on the top.
Mm. There you go.
So
I'm gonna show it for YouTube. I found it. It was
okay.
posted. It was posted yesterday at 9:05 p.m. in my time. Yeah. The second one is like the faster one, right? Like the
Yeah.
speed one. Yeah. I'm gonna download that one and show it in a loop on YouTube. Let's see.
Yeah. It's just really tedious because I have to type the day in and then go back and then save it. And I got to keep doing that over and over. And if I wanted to do that 360, I don't want to do that 365 times. It was just too much.
Mm. Right. Let's see if we can pop this up over here. Create a loop and get a loop.
Yeah.
Repeat. There you go.
Yeah.
Now you guys should be able to catch up on YouTube in a 30 seconds or so.
I found this really, really good video of a guy. He explains the analemma in such good detail, and it's so easy to understand. And I think Brian was asking. I don't know what the hell Brian was trying to ask us today. I guess why the lower loop width looks bigger, and I mean, from what I learned, it's basically because of it's not because of the distance, which was Brian was saying. It's because of the speed when the Earth is at perihelion in its orbit.
Mm.
It's because of the speed, not because of the distance. So when we're closer to the sun, we're actually moving a little slightly faster than when we're farther away in our orbit. Which is why in the wintertime the loop is smaller.
Loop to loop.
I'll post that video. It's really good. I mean, the guy kind of explained it, but it's really good. I tried messaging the guy to see if he would, if I could mirror the video on my channel, but he didn't answer.
Hmm.
And he hasn't posted a video in like a year, so.
Right. Yeah, let's see if Brian Leake is watching or listening.
Here it is.
Maybe he want to clarify about this analemma thing. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a video. It's a really, really good video. I mean, it's kind of short. It's 8 minutes, but he really explains it in a way that you can understand.
Good. What is analemma, solstices, equinoxes, and something else that I cannot read from here? I'm Batman.
And then the tilt, basically determines your latitude.
I thought you were gonna say that determines your la la land.
Brian's out in the YouTube chat, says he'll be in a minute.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Who is that?
Brian is gonna show up in a minute.
Brian, he's out in YouTube chat. He said he'll be here in a minute.
All right. Well, he's
Very cool.
gonna come in and tell us how we're wrong, I guess. Okay.
Well, maybe I'll just clarify. I don't know what he was talking about with the analemma either.
I was, yeah, I listened back probably 2 or 3 times trying to understand what he was trying to ask. Something about the sun and the stars should be on the same path, or this, I don't know, it's moving at the same speed.
I don't know. Beats me.
Over a 12-hour period?
No, I think he claimed that the sun needs to move faster on the southern sky than on the northern sky.
I gotta
Which is true.
I gotta
It's not
apologize.
much.
I gotta apologize with Lucky Fish Mars because the video was giving his cat epilepsy over there in his house. Sorry. Looping analemma video.
Cal was trying to chase it, trying to jump on the screen.
Yeah, he said that video is driving my cat crazy. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and I'll probably go back through and add some more, because I did them all on the first time I did it. It was on the 11th of the month, so I did 12, and then the second time it was on the 25th of the month, and that was 12. So I'm probably gonna go back and probably add the other week. So I'll have like one picture every week for an entire year and see if that looks better.
Nice.
What I want to do is I want to overlay all of the images, but I can't find. I don't know if anybody has like some sort of program where I can overlay all the images perfectly.
Mm. Yeah, that's a tricky one right there.
Yeah.
You could go
'Cause I
crazy
can't-
all in Photoshop as layers.
Yeah,
Good luck.
I don't have Photoshop though.
GIMP is free.
What's up?
GIMP is free. GIMP.
Oh, yeah, I'll try that.
Before Brian Linky pops in, and I might not get a chance to actually mention it, he also seems to think that the sun, the subsolar point, is where you see the reflection if you're off axis, which is false. So just keep in mind that he's not exactly sure where a subsolar point actually is.
Oh, are you talking about his video? That he was.
Yeah, every time he presents it, he points out the reflection that you see from off axis, and that he says that's the subsolar point. That's not actually true.
Yeah, I watched one of his videos the other day, and he's like, "Yeah, see this He's looking at the reflection that the light makes off of his globe, and I'm guessing that he thinks that's where the sun. I don't know. But I'm like, why are you not?
Yeah, that's part of the geometric issue is lining it up correctly involves actually lining it up correctly, because the reflection that you see from off axis when you're off that plane where the Earth and the Sun are in alignment, the reflection is definitely not where the subsolar point is, and that's
Hey, who are y'all talking about?
We're talking about you, Brian.
What?
We're talking about you.
You talking about with subsolar point?
Yeah.
No, so okay. You made a video, right, and you were showing that the reflection of the sun off of your globe. Right?
Yeah,
and
but
you're saying that the reflection is north or something like that. But my question is, why did you show from Australia or something, the direction you would be looking at the sun, looking at the sun, not the reflection of the sun on the globe.
No, that was just to show. Well, the analemma represents where we see the sun in
Okay,
the
we're not talking
sky.
about. I'm not talking about the moon right now. That's a different topic. We're talking about, I'm talking
No,
about.
but I'm just telling you. Wherever I did it, I don't know if you've seen the first video, but I lined up a laser
Yes.
about 50 feet away, and it was right in the middle of the hot spot to show you. But let me bring up another point. Is okay? So Blue said that the and I guess everybody pretty much would agree. And I'm on the fence right now if I would agree with this that every latitude pretty much that's not at the equator east hits the equator, right?
What?
The
Oh,
only
you're
great
saying
circle, the only great circle is if you cut the globe in half. So the latitude lines are not a great circle. The only one is the equator. All the
Right.
longitudes are great circles, basically. So east from every latitude, if you're not at the equator, will wind up, either crossing or at or near or toward the equator.
right. If you describe it, to be perfectly clear, what you're describing is if you point east from a starting position, and that direction that you pointed, you travel in that direction without turning left or right, you will eventually cross the equator. Yes. If you attempt to follow your compass east the whole time that you're going, then you will not run into the equator because that's not a great circle. Your heading will change as you go on a great
Right.
circle.
You'll go south, and then you'll eventually start going north again.
Yep.
But the thing about that is that's not really hard to understand because essentially that's what would happen on any ball. Yeah,
Right.
just from a model standpoint.
Even though the latitude lines are all parallel, since we're changing the way we stand, that and they're not great circles, so they converge toward the equator. Okay, so everybody would agree with that, right?
The latitude lines don't converge to the equator, but if you pick a direct east at a starting point and you never turn left or right as you're traveling, and you don't follow east on your compass the entire time you're moving, you will eventually run into the equator.
Right. So Sydney basically its east is above the ecliptic, or it's east for Sydney. It puts it above Capricorn, even though it's even though it's below Capricorn, since it's not a great circle. That so Sydney, if you're looking east at the beach, then you're looking above the ecliptic or Capricorn. You're looking closer toward the equator if you're looking all the way at the horizon or whatever. Any disagreement? That's how y'all claim that that the sun comes in from the south, basically because of the tilt or because of the angle. Not necessarily the tilt, a little bit because of the angle, right? So so vice versa. If I'm like 29 degrees north, so I'm like a mirror image of Sydney, and the sun has to come up from the north here, and it might a little bit, but from where I see north, it seems to be east. But I'm not going to make that claim because I'm not 100% sure. But let's say this: so is everybody on board and okay with all that? The fact that the latitude lines are due east from every latitude, not on the equator, converges toward the equator.
Right.
I think that the big contention here is not so much what happens on a globe, it's what happens on a flat. And a flat Earth, it makes no sense. At least thus far, I haven't seen anything that seems to correspond with a flat surface with a sun circling above the surface. I don't see any mechanism by which the sun could work.
Well, before we go there, I want to clear this up. And okay, so everybody's on board. Okay, now, so on an
Do you have a globe?
equinox.
Do you own a
Yeah, I
globe?
got a globe. Hold on. I just was getting to the point. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. And you get next point. Okay, so on the equinox, the sun rises due east for everybody. Pretty much everybody on the globe, right?
Or south of east, yeah.
Well, equinox. Yeah, due east.
Due east, right?
Yeah.
So basically, okay, so if due east is converging toward the equator, okay, if you say my east is converging toward the equator everywhere except at the equator, then you're killing the parallel sun rays.
No.
No, because the subsolar point being at the equator and everybody's east direction is converging toward the equator. Those two things work hand in hand, and everybody looking east sees the sun to the east.
So east does not converge toward the equator then. Because listen, if my east is converging south
toward the subsolar point, the subsolar point is at the equator, and everybody's looking east. Those all work at the same time.
So if I'm looking east in Sydney, my mirror is looking. I mean, if I'm looking toward the equator, when I look east, and in Sydney they're looking toward the equator. When they look east, okay, then our lines of sight would crisscross at a few thousand miles.
They converge over. Okay, they converge over where the subsolar point is, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the lines are converging at the point on the surface of the Earth.
There's no getting around it, though. You can't have both, man. I understand what you're saying about the subsolar point, but if you want your parallel sun rays, then if I'm looking east, then can't be converging. My east can't be converging toward the equator at the same time as coming south during the equinox.
Brian, look at the picture I posted at 17 past the hour. There's two pictures. Do you see the direction of the shadow?
You talking about in Daily Boom?
Yeah. At 17 past the hour.
Give me a second.
There's two pictures, one with the globe and then one from that I screenshotted from time and date. Yeah, sun capture.
We see it. I have it up on screen. I just switched to the other one. I got him for YouTube.
So this actually comes from a video that I made. So I overlaid sun calc over top of the globe where I had the light shining off in the distance, and I placed a gnomon in South America. And this would be what? This summer solstice? The morning of the summer solstice? Yeah. Oh, the summer. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I'm referring to the equinox, man.
And
I'm only bringing that up because you can't have both. You can't have parallel sun rays, and you can't have the sunset. You can't have my east converging at the equator or toward the equator from the northern and the southern hemisphere, okay, and have parallel sun rays. Doesn't work.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
The issue is that this is a three-dimensional problem. So when you have somebody on one side of the equator and then somebody on the other side of the equator, both looking toward the subsolar point, where they converge is the object they're looking at, but where they converge over on the surface of the Earth is the subsolar point. The lines themselves are not converging on the surface of the Earth. They're converging at the object you're looking at.
Wait a minute. Are you saying we're not? Hold on. He's saying that because the sun is over the subsolar point that we're looking at the subsolar point?
Yeah. sort of.
Is that what he's saying, Brian? We're not.
No,
We're looking.
wait, say that again. What's your question, B-Ball?
So are you saying that because the sun is over the subsolar point, that the two observers would be looking at the subsolar point, like towards the subsolar point?
No, that can't be. You
What
can't
are you
have
saying?
parallel rays and converging latitudes, bro. You can't have that.
But Brian, they're
The
not looking
latitudes
at the
themselves are not
subsolar point.
converging.
They're looking at the sun, which is not on the surface of the earth.
Yeah, and the latitudes
Right,
themselves
dude,
are not
right.
converging.
So if I'm looking due east, and my due east within 6,000 miles is at the equator. Okay, that's my due east. Okay, and somebody in Sydney, 6,000 miles away from them, their due east is also at the equator. Okay, then you do not have parallel sun rays, man. You can't have both. You can't have converging latitudes and parallel sun rays on an equinox, man.
Honestly, Brian, I'm lost.
I want to make this one
Wait,
point
wait,
real
wait.
clear.
I
The latitudes
Tough is-
themselves are not converging. Oh, that's the second time that you've said the latitudes are converging, but they're not. They're not converging.
Yeah. Sorry, you're right. I meant to say my due east. If my due east is converging, my line of sight due east.
Well, Brian, the lines converge to the sun. That's where they converge. Their projection, their straight projection on the globe converge to the subsolar point.
Right. Okay. So that's why this come from the south for Australia. Okay. Just because of what you just said. Okay. It does in reality, but the globe it doesn't work.
How does it not work, Brian? I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Just because of what he just said, man. I mean, think about it, man. Think about it. If my east,
what
hold on.
he's
If my
saying-
east, listen, Ebo, let me make it clear. If my east is looking above the Tropic of Cancer, okay, forget what the latitude's doing. If east is looking above toward the equator, basically, to make the sun come in from the south, okay, then basically so that means during the equinox, then somebody at northern latitude mirrored to them is looking toward their east is toward the equator, okay, literally toward the equator. So you can't have the sun coming in from the south if that's not actually happening.
Each observer's line of sight is a 3D vector, though, Brian. That's a part you're forgetting. Both of them are on a not flat surface. The vector is three-dimensional. They're converging at the object they're looking at, the sun. That point projected onto the surface of the Earth, as Chaiki mentioned,
I'm starting to think
is
the
also
sun's
converging
four-dimensional,
at
man.
the subsolar point. But that projection is not where these lines of sight are actually converging. They're converging at the sun.
Yeah, see, I think that's where he's getting mixed up.
So are they converging at the? Okay, so the hot spot. So there's no point in ever even saying hot spot then, right?
No, Brian. It's the. I think you're confused because you think that the sun over the.
No, I'm just trying to get you to quit saying hot spot, man, because it's confusing everything.
No, I'm not. No, you said hot spot.
We don't say hot spot.
I joined because I heard the word hot spot. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so in reality, then what you're saying is my east is not converging toward the equator.
Well, on the surface of the Earth, it does.
Yeah, a projection of that ray, your line of sight onto the surface of the Earth, is converging toward the equator. However, you're not looking at a spot on the surface of the Earth that's on the equator. You're looking at an object that's in the sky.
So you would agree that all the latitudes are parallel, okay? So if on the equinox we're all looking dead east, okay, if we're all looking and also looking in the same direction, then we all have to be on that day, not any other day, but on that day, we all have to be looking, okay, parallel, okay? We all have to be looking the same exact direction, okay? So if you're on one side of the globe,
Effectively parallel.
if you're on one side of the globe at the equator and on the other, then you're looking at if it's the ground that's curving, okay, then you're looking in the same direction. Between on that particular day has to be looking parallel, so they have to be looking along their line of latitude. So on you can't
Hi
have
guys.
line of sight
Stingray,
converging toward the equator.
Quick,
we got Stingray.
yeah, quick announcement. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Two things. The Stingray is here, and I see you that you are screen sharing, so I'm gonna put you up for YouTube. But I first gotta do a shout out. We got some support from the YouTube audience. This time is Bigus Dogus. Send me a little something over here. Let's see what we got. We got. Oh, and also John Watson. Look at that. All right, let me. You gotta give me 30 seconds because it's slow burning over here. He sent me 666. Damn, $6.66. Here's a little something for having Brian and his great ideas on the boom. Bigus, thank you very much. You see, Brian, people appreciate it, you know, one way or another. I mean, we enjoy having you here because we all like really need the opposite view. If not, the shows will be like boring, like for real. They will. So I appreciate you. And
Yeah, well, I mean, I
one
try
more,
to see things.
one more,
Thank you,
Brian.
man.
Yeah, one more. John Watson with another 666. Look at that, $6.66. John Watson say, "I do the round here, Brian. Get the fuck off my toes." Shout out to John Watson, rambling as usual.
Or hey, before Stingray starts, I just want to say also to if Gary is in the chat or somewhere listening, notice how when we have conversations with Brian, he stops and he allows us to respond.
That's the way it
You
should be.
should probably be taking notes. You should probably be taking notes, Gary.
Yeah. And we should get a little
And
excited, you know. We should try to like jump in, you know, a little like, you know, the excitement of like, no, I want to answer now. But that doesn't mean like you're gonna just push through it and interrupt just because you want to and just keep going and rolling. I mean, yeah, some people gotta take a slightly different approach. So, yeah.
I just wanted to mention one thing real quick for Brian Leakey's edification, just so that we're very clear. When you're looking toward the east and your line of sight is off in that direction as a straight line, your line of sight isn't exactly following a line of latitude. The two are not connected. Like directly east and line of latitude are not connected. In order to follow a line of latitude south of the equator as you're traveling east, you have to turn very slightly right. And north of the equator, you have to turn very slightly left. And that's why we say
Thank you.
they're not great circles.
Yeah. You're up on screen, Stingray.
Thank you.
Video.
I'm
I
going
posted a
He
video.
just solidified my argument right there. So
Okay,
you're not looking. So if you're not at the equator, your east is not latitude lines. Okay. So on the equinox, okay, when you're at the equator and you're looking due east because that is actually east, okay, and all the lines of latitude are parallel, but everywhere else on the globe, your due east where the sun's coming up is not parallel with that person at the equator. Thank you. Somebody back.
Yes, it is.
Hey, Brian, I've said the same thing numerous times, and they all disagreed.
Well, I posted a little
Because-
video that describes this perfectly. It's I got a flashlight only about maybe a foot away from my globe, and you can see as I move from parallel to parallel, and I'm looking east of the sun. I'm looking straight, essentially straight east, the whole time. And yet all those lines intersect at the equator. So in a practical model, it actually happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so he just simplified my argument, man. Better than I was even spitting it out. But yeah,
Right,
so you
but
can't have both. You can't have
no,
both. You can't have everybody looking the same direction on the equinox and the lines of latitude not parallel
but
with
they're
the
all looking.
equator.
But they're
Brian,
all
can
You
you
can't
looking.
have
shoot
both.
straight? Brian, can you shoot straight?
Yeah.
So you are correct relative to 3D space. Absolutely correct. So if an observer is at the equator, and this is, if we look at this this ring here, we've got a longitude line and a latitude line. You're absolutely correct that this latitude line at the equator is east-west. But obviously on a surface of the Earth, it's going to curve round, but that doesn't perturb the vector. Yeah. So if we normalize the vector to just two directions, then at the equator, yes, it's fine. That does, you are correct, that does change the further down you get. It absolutely does. But in any position on this planet, on this ball, this thing works by me just rotating it. And I don't know why I keep having to say this. It doesn't.
But not at the same time, bud.
Yeah, everything. All at the same time. Not one thing fails. Everything works all at the same time. Doesn't matter what. Everything works. Never fails.
Okay.
Would you give me 30 seconds?
Oh, yo, I was muted for YouTube. Fucking A. You guys heard me on Discord. You guys heard me on Discord with YouTube. Thank you for the $5 that the person that accepted that I concede the Antarctic landing was fake. Was that you, Genesis? You probably was. Yeah, thank you so much for the $5. And Marcus Dresden, I just sang your song, Marcus Dresden. I sang the money, 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 money song. Thank you so much. The people on Discord enjoyed my singing. I cannot sing it for copyright purposes. Thank you. Brian Leakey, you're up.
Okay. So I got two questions. I want to make a quick statement. I see what you're saying. Yeah, you can make it, but for both the North and the South at the same time, I think you're going to have problems unless these questions get answered differently than I think. Okay, so at the equator, east is always, but if you could tilt it wherever, but your east and west are always the equator. Okay, so on the equinox, Stingray, if you're at the equator, you see the sunrise. Okay, due east. Okay, and you have to agree. Also, it doesn't matter which way you tilt the ball, that all the latitude lines are parallel with that equator. So if the sun's rays are parallel, that guy just simplified it and put good. I'm trying to expand on that. If the sun's rays are parallel on the equinox, okay, then our due east is going to have to be.
There's one more wrench to throw at you. There's one more wrench to throw at you real quick, Brian. The latitude lines are not on a flat surface, so they're not technically parallel. They exist in parallel planes that you still have to turn left or right in order to follow. So you wouldn't really call them parallel on the surface of the Earth.
And that's another...
Right. You just he keeps backing me up. This guy is on fire. So there are circles.
No, he's actually describing.
It's circles. So there's circles. So when you're looking east, you're not looking along your line, not even on on the day you would have to if the sun's rays are parallel. I mean, from what you're saying, I mean, how could y'all argue with this guy? Look, it's
So Brian, just really quickly, can you still see my screen? Can you still see
period.
my...
Period.
Brian, can you still see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're breaking up a bit as well, Brian. So it's oh well you are for me anyway. So here we have the sun. So I'm actually just off the coast of Africa, on the equator, rising dead east. Yeah. Now an interesting thing. So at the moment we're in the month. We're at the end of March, start of April. April the 1st. Now an interesting thing is I've frozen time and I can move anywhere on this globe to see where the sun is and where it's going to rise. Yeah. So if I actually
I'm good with them converging lines, just so you know.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is I've frozen time, and this is the sunrise. Yeah, it's rising in the east. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the entire longitudinal line, and let's see what happens. That's as much that happens here. We'll just get a little bit left and right of east. Now, an interesting thing here is if we move through the day like this, and let's say we go like half, just before zenith, and I do the same thing. Now, do you see what happens? Now, because it's rotating around a sphere, the orientation now switches 45 degrees, which is pretty awesome. And guess what?
Right. So not parallel.
The light rays all are coming in from a parallel sun. There it is. It's hitting parallel. You're perceiving them on the planet in different directions due to the mapping of the latitude lines, but they are in fact in 3D space parallel. It's just that they're hitting a sphere. Now, if we come over here and I move this again, this matches reality 100%. Me moving like this and going to...
I agree, man. I agree that matches reality. It just doesn't match your globe with your conversion.
No, this is a globe, and I am on the globe, and this is the viewport. This here. I don't know whether you understand this, Brian, but this here, this Mildots ring thing, it's actually this thing on the right. We're looking from this observer here. If I tilt this, that on the right changes because it's all one thing. And the only thing that I need to do to make this work and for it to match reality anywhere is I just rotate the sphere and everything works. If it wasn't a sphere, it wouldn't work. If I didn't rotate it and it wasn't a sphere, it wouldn't work. There you go.
You got the ground curving and your lines angling. You can't have both, pal. I agree with what you got, and I'm not even saying this to win or lose the argument. You can't curve the ground and change the angle of the rays. If you're curving the ground, okay, then the rays are all parallel. So what you're saying to me, wait, one final thing. So what you're saying to me is that everybody on the equinox is looking the parallel with the person on.
You're breaking up, Brian. I know.
Everybody on the equinox. Everybody at the everybody on the globe is looking parallel to the person at the equator.
All I can say, Brian, is because it's a sphere. If we disregard the local directions on the sphere because it's a sphere and that does not map to 2D space, that's why distances or direction do not match on a map. You can have one or the other. Now, the important thing, though, is if we disregard that and we just take a relative direction, let's call it a star direction, and we plot the light in 3D space, then it is, for all intents and purposes, parallel, because this is what it's using here. The sun, the light coming into this sphere is parallel. All shadows work, all terminators work. Everything works, Brian. Not one thing fails.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't fail.
Right.
Okay, so what you're telling me, then you're arguing with me and that other guy who said that the latitudes, even though they're parallel with each other, okay, our east is not following the latitude unless you're at the equator. Okay,
No.
so what you're saying to me is that you're like using some type of perspective or something.
No, look
that,
at if you just
wait, let me finish.
No.
I'm almost done, dude.
It's a
What you're
sphere.
saying is that through perspective, we are all looking parallel with the equator, right? We're all looking parallel with the equator. We have to be if the sun's rays are parallel, bro.
No, we are not. No one said that. No one will ever say that. No, we are not. I've just shown you how it works on a sphere, Brian. Now, this observer on the right, let me go through
Yeah,
this
but
one.
no, you changed the angle of the line and the ground, bro. You can't curve the ground.
No, the only thing here is a parallel sunray sun many millions of miles away and a sphere, and that's it. Now, I'll try and do this again, just one more time, Brian. We can get this. Now, I've rotated it almost to the setting sun, but we'll put it at 45 degrees elevation or thereabouts. It's going to set in the west. The observer at the moment is on the equator, just off the coast of Africa. Now, if we look at what happens, I can move this observer up to the United Kingdom and then down near the Arctic regions. Let's have a look at what happens to the direction of the sun. I am not changing the angle of light. I am not changing the fact that the sun is millions of miles away and these are parallel light rays. All I am doing is changing the position of the observer on a sphere. I move it up and that's what happens. It is entirely expected on a sphere and this never fails. It works 100% of the time, all the time, by just rotating the sphere.
That's fine. You give up your parallel sun rays and I'll agree.
No, the sun is in the same position millions of miles away.
Okay, but you just said that somebody north of the equator and south of the equator are not looking parallel with the equator.
Brian, listen to this. They are not looking in the same the same direction in relation to the ground because it's a sphere. They are looking exactly in the same direction in 3D space because they're both looking at the sun, the same direction. They are parallel looking at the sun, just as demonstrated by this damn sphere.
Yeah.
I'm showing you it right now.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, but you got to answer this question. You got to answer this question. Okay. Now you can change the angle after sunrise. Okay, and you could do whatever. But at sunrise, okay, everybody on a globe, okay, picture somebody at the top and the bottom. You got to draw. Don't converge your lines, man, unless you flatten out the ground. Okay, if you're going to use the globe itself, okay, or curved ground, then keep your rays parallel. Keep your because the sun's width is in the heliocentric model is like 864,000. It's like over 750,000 miles wide. Okay, so we can go all the way to the moon. Hold on, we go all the way to the moon, and we still don't change angles to the sun.
Just really quickly on that point, Brian. Brian, just really quickly on that point.
Our perspective would be converging. You say
Brian,
it's the ground curving.
You're breaking up again, by the way, Brian. I said on that point, you are wrong. The width of the sun is utterly fucking irrelevant. It is only relevant when you couple it with distance, and the only thing that you need to know is the sun is half a degree wide, and that is it. There is nothing else there. Doesn't matter whether there's anything else. It's half a degree wide. That's it. And a stupid distance away. That's all we care about.
So if I'm at 45 degrees, go ahead.
Just give me a few seconds. I want to read a big support by. Hold on. He sent me up a little sum on PayPal. Actually, a big $35. That's sum. Freaking A. Hold on. You're the man. And there's a quote over here I want to read. Being behind sucks. Being less behind sucks less, but it still sucks. I thought about getting a cheap 9x12 frame for some fabulous art I bought online, but that can wait. Fridays are the best days for nearly everything. Tomby thingy in the uppity direction. Regards, hold on. You're the man. Hold on. You are the man. Appreciate that. And do as Marcus Dresden say. Do as he say. Everybody give Jose money. Do as Rashi 50 say. Rashi say. Hit the thumbs up, guys. There's 50 plus people watching and 47 likes. And Doofy's Manfred had to go, but Doofy say if Brian thinks the globe supports his argument, so be it. I must go. Left a like. The globe matches reality. Brian Leake 2022. Thank you very much, everybody. I will try not to interrupt. I'll find a little window if I get a little bit of support or something. I'm gonna let the conversation roll. Brian, you were going up next, and I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Okay, so you should be able to answer this question. And so if it's the and I'm standing on the equator, okay, I'm looking east, seeing the sunrise.
Equinox.
On the equator, I'm basically looking parallel with the equator.
Yeah, you have to tell me what month, because it does make a difference. The tilt of the Earth.
On the equinox.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Equator.
Okay, and everywhere else on Earth. Okay, everywhere else on Earth. Okay, so if I move, if there's three of us at the equator, okay, and you stay at the equator and you stay looking east, parallel with the equator, okay, and I move 45 degrees north. I move 45 degrees north, okay, but hold on, I don't change my angle. I'm on I'm on some like some kind of pivot roller board or something.
Yeah, like
where
this.
I keep the same angle as I do when I left the equator. I never change that. Okay, so by the time I get to 45 degrees north, I'm looking the same exact direction. I never moved my head. I never did nothing. So when I get to 10 degrees north latitude, I'm still parallel with the equator. So I'm parallel with that latitude line. When I get to 20 degrees, I'm still looking. If I'm going to keep my eyes on the sun, then the sun has to stay parallel with that equator. And if you want to try and confuse things by changing angles, changing me angles and talk about 3D and all that, I mean, to me, the sun's got to be some kind of 4D, goes beyond 3D.
Brian, this is nothing to do with the sun. It's to do with you can't 3D and you can't comprehend a sphere. Can you see my screen right now? Yes or no?
Wait, you didn't respond to my point. So hold on. If I leave the equator, if I leave the equator,
please, this is my answer, Brian. Please let me answer. Can you see my screen right now? Yes or no?
That's not an answer.
No, I'm going to show you it visually. That's why
I'm looking at your screen, bud.
Yeah,
right. Calm down, man. Calm down. I'm looking at your screen.
Okay, so you see this here, this cross that I've got on the planet at the moment. That is north, south, west, and east. Yeah. Now, if I move the observer north, it will actually keep the northwest direction. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to duplicate this ring, and I'm going to move a separate observer. So we can see what's happening now. If I move 45 degrees, can you see that this is still pointing here, northwest, southeast? But can you see it?
Hey, can you move? Can you keep the globe still and move the observer?
Nearly there. So close. Now, I've done nothing on a sphere except move north. Now, if we look at the absolute west lines, if we continued them round, can you see what would happen? They would converge. And that's not what happens. So taking directions on a sphere does not work because it is a sphere. That's tantamount to saying that you could unwrap a beach ball and lay it flat.
So you're not going to answer my question. I knew you wasn't going to address the question, bro. My question is, let me ask the question.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, calm down a little bit, Stingray, man. You're getting worked up, man. We got plenty of time to work our way through this. I'm seeing what you're drawing, but I got one request and my same question. Okay, so if I keep my same angle, if I don't change angles, okay, and I leave the equator when I get to 10 degrees north, okay, I'm still my line of sight toward that sun hasn't changed. It's still parallel with the equator, no matter how high I go, right?
Right. So, in answer to your question, this is a direct answer, and I know you're not going to like it. So, I've now reset this scene, and we're going to have a look at it so that it's at sunrise on the equator. So, sunrise on the equator, and it's April the 1st. Let me just set this for you. April the 1st. I have to get to sunrise again. Apologies. So, sunrise, there we go, direct east. There we go. April the 1st, direct east. A globe, I will say it one more time, just one last time. A globe predicts the following. If I go north, the sun moves a little bit, depending on the time of day. So if we go a little bit up here and we check what happens on a globe, can you see that here it's east? But if I move up on the equinox, on the equator, it moves. Now, the important thing here is the sun didn't move. The other important thing is all parallel lines stayed the same. The only thing that changed was your relative perception of it based on being on a sphere. That is the only thing that is changing. And this matches exactly reality.
Okay. Very good. So if I leave the equator, then when I get to 45 degrees north, I am no longer looking parallel with the equator. It changed.
You are looking parallel with the observer on the equator if you're looking at the sun. However, if you kept the globe east direction, based on the true direction, the axial spin, you are no longer looking directly at the sun as predicted by a globe. How far off is it? Because I was led to believe that the sun's rays were parallel. No. This is nothing to do. They never change. All of these in this model, parallel sun rays all the time. We're on about our direction to the sun, as in. You just said that it changes, bro. No, I'm saying you have to look in a different direction because you're trying to map the surface of a sphere to an absolute 3D direction. That was my request. That's my request. What I want you to do, if you can, is get an observer instead of changing the lines in the globe and the angles in the sun. Get an observer and change his viewpoint. But what I want you to do is start two of them off. Start two of them off at the equator. Hold on, man. Hold on. Let me finish, man. For God's sake, man. Just start two of them off at the equator, okay, and move one north toward the 45-degree line, okay? Don't let him take his eye off the sun. Don't let him change angles. So when he gets to 45 degrees, he is standing crooked. He's 45 degrees sideways compared to everybody else at 45 degrees. So I want his line of sight to stay parallel as he goes up through the latitudes. But if it deviates, I need to know by how much. I'm going to make a prediction. You are not looking at my screen because that's exactly what I've been doing. You've got a curved ground and converging lines, man. I've not got a curved ground from the relative position of this dude. It's for all intents and purposes flat. It's on a huge sphere, yes, but there's no curve here. It's just the ground. Yes, he goes round, or they go round, it goes round a sphere. And yes, the sun is emitting light that is, for all intents and purposes, hitting the Earth parallel. You can tell by the relationship between this red line and these blue lines, parallel. It never changes. It's always parallel, and it predicts reality perfectly. I am moving this observer one last time from the equator all the way up 45 degrees. Now, depending on the time of day, in other words, the relative rotation position to the sun, the actual angle, the difference between observer at the equator and observer in the sky changes because the Earth is tilted and it's a sphere. So therefore,
okay, you say an observer in the sky?
Wait a minute. This predicts it perfectly with parallel light rays, a sphere, and rotation. And that's all that's needed.
You can keep saying that, man, but you're dodging my question. At what point, you said an observer in the sky, it changes also, okay? So at what point, okay, if you do the math, to get the sun to change 1 degree, you have to go 1,100,000 miles away from Earth to get the sun to change apparent angle by 1 degree. Okay. So you said that somebody in the sky it changes too, but at what point, if I'm the observer and I'm standing on the equator and I've got a line drew from my eyes to the sun and it's parallel with the equator, it's east, it's due east. Okay. If I start moving to the north, at what point does that line start deviating away from the latitudes? At what point?
So the issue here is you are asking a question spread across two, and I'll say it very slowly, two coordinate systems. One of those coordinate systems is a 2D coordinate system wrapped around a sphere. The other that you are referencing could be construed as a Cartesian system that is relative to 3D space. We'll call it star-fixed. Yeah? The two you cannot equate the same way. You'd have to do a transform. The same way that you can't take a balloon. You cannot take a beach ball and make one cut in it and unwrap it flat. That does not work. There is distortion.
Hold on, wait. You're leaving the surface. So now the surface of your globe is not using two-dimensional Cartesian coordinates now?
Stingray, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I got a question. It's by Rachi 50. I'm going to read this. Stingray, can you put the moon on the globe model for when we finally manage to chat? I have a few questions about it. And are you free in a couple hours? Thank you, Rachi.
Yes to both, and I've already got the moon there on its correct orbit and the correct size. In fact, wait a minute. So look at it. There we go. There's the moon at its correct size on its correct orbit around the Earth. And I've got the Earth casting a geometric shadow so that I can see how the orbit intersects it. So
this is why I picked the equinox and not any other day, because you're explaining all this other stuff, and it sounded to me like you're deserting the globe's two-dimensional surface, the two-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system. I believe in reality that it is two-dimensional, but I'm not so sure that it's a globe.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Brian.
Hey, look, how come you never let me get to the end of any sentences, man? Just out of curiosity.
Just Brian, really quickly, let me ask you this. If I place a I mean, you can do it with a ball. You can actually do this yourself. So if you took a that you don't have football. Soccer, if you took a soccer ball and you put a nail on that soccer ball, and that nail has to point away from that soccer ball, and then you rotate that soccer ball with that nail on, and you have a look at how the shadow acts, and then you record that, and then you move the nail round to 45 degrees and then rotate it, you'll see that the shadow it acts differently. Now, you could leave the thing that's casting the shadow, you could use a sun or a light source internally, that could be in the same position. And it could be sending the same direction lines. But because it's on a 3D surface, and because
I understand all that, bro.
Yeah, right. Brilliant. So that's
I also understand, look, I understand that that the sun, even though I'm 45 degrees north, okay, the sun would rise due east, okay? It would head north, okay, okay, it would still do a loop. Okay, the only place on Earth that it rises due east and stays from 0 to 180 the whole time is at the equator. So it rises and sets at 90. What is it? 90 and 180. Or
where are you? Where are you in the States, Brian? You might have told me once, but I fucking forgot now.
I'm on the east coast of Florida.
Florida.
Ah,
okay. I did man. One of the first things I did when I heard about the flat Earth is went and pulled some string lines on the beach. I think I have it recorded. I'm not sure I ever posted it because the lady I was with posted it. But first thing I did is went to the beach and pulled some string lines with a compass and a freaking Google compass, and the sun came up and split my string line, man. I was amazed and everything. But so the thing is, the problem is you still haven't answered my question. If I deviate, okay, if I do not change angles, okay, once again, if you draw a fictitious line from my eyes to the sun, and I'm staying on the equator, you move me up toward 45 degrees latitude, okay, you have to drop me down. When I get there, I'll be standing crooked, okay? I'll be standing crooked, but the whole way between the equator and 45 degrees north, my line stayed on the sun. If I was looking through a piece of PVC pipe, okay, it's the sun stayed dead center, okay, or very close to it for all intents and purposes, all the way. And the only thing that changed was the ground. Hold on, here's the end. The only thing that changed was the ground underneath me. The ground underneath me curved, but other than that, the sun stayed in my PVC pipe.
No, absolutely correct, Brian. The thing that changed is the ground underneath you because it curved away and you transitioned around a sphere in a 3D coordinate system, which changed your orientation. You might have been looking in the same direction, but west now is in a different.
So now the globe surface is 3D now. I need some agreements on that. You just changed the globe surface to 3D.
Is 3D, but east and west only have two fucking coordinates. Do you ever wonder why that is?
The globe model, the surface of the globe model is two-dimensional Cartesian coordinate.
Don't descend into the beveness, please. Don't.
No, that's a big deal, man. Hold on, that's a big deal. I've had discussions for hours over this, arguing the case that the globe model is not three-dimensional, B-ball.
Brian, look at this. Brian, look at this.
Hold on, B-ball. I've had discussions for hours arguing that the globe is not two-dimensional. The surface of the globe is not two-dimensional, and y'all keep saying that it's using two-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system, the globe model.
No, Brian, we live on a 3D sphere. We map that 3D sphere with a 2D coordinate system because no one gives a shit about the fact that we're going to move away from it. However, if you want a star fixed coordinate system, then all the sun's rays are parallel or near enough when they hit the Earth. Everybody looks in parallel directions, but you can no longer use eastings and northings, right? Look at this. So
you're blaming it on the fact that the Google or the globe Earth is modeled as two-dimensional. The surface. I mean, I'm told in mathematics and everything, the surface of a globe is two-dimensional.
No, I'm blaming it on the fact that you don't understand that west, 45 degrees up a sphere, is a different 3D star fixed direction.
Bro, I understand what you're showing me. I understand what you're telling me.
Than west on the center. But look at this. This is the prediction of your sun right now.
I understand that, bro. I understand that. I understand what you're showing me. I understand what you're telling me. But you're not answering my question, bro.
This is your sun today. This is what will happen to your sun today. And all I'm doing to replicate that to within half a degree accuracy is I'm just rotating a sphere and you're on it. I'll place you in Miami.
Why are you deviating from the equinox, Stingray, instead of answering my simple question? Okay? My simple question is
what's going to happen in reality.
My simple question was that my PVC pipe Okay, and my line of sight, the sun stays in there. The only thing that changes is the ground underneath me. The two-dimensional surface of your sphere is the only thing that changes. Okay, now is the line, that fictitious line coming out of that PVC pipe? Okay, is it ever gonna angle away from the sun, or is it gonna stay parallel with the equator all the way up?
If you're on about west or east direction, it will change if it's through the day. If we're on the equinox and you're in an elevated position and you're looking east at the sunrise, it's pretty much east everywhere. However, if you waited for like 10 degrees elevation in the sky, or even 20 or 45, then moving north will change it a lot more. And guess what? You need spherical geometry for that to match.
Fine. So my due east is parallel. The latitude lines are parallel with the equator.
The latitude lines are parallel with the equator on
the longitude.
Yeah.
My east. So my east
On one longitude,
is parallel.
they're parallel.
Yeah, but the surface is curving, Brian. That's why none of this makes sense to you. You can't wrap your head around.
Dude, I can't believe you don't think I understand that, dude. I mean, what part of that do you think I don't understand what you're saying? You're just missing my point.
So
You're still fighting against it, that's why.
I'm not fighting against what he's saying. I'm not disagreeing what he's showing. Okay, but I'm only referring to one point in time. Okay, I'm referring to sunrise on the equinox. Okay, and I'm referring to a spot northern hemisphere, equator, and southern hemisphere. If the globe sun rays are parallel, okay, and I'm on the equator. Okay, don't change times, don't change position, and don't try and just use one other position. Got to use them both, okay? If Australia's east is converging toward the globe, okay, and not parallel with the equator, okay, then on that one day, they would have to be, because if I left the equator traveling either direction, okay, that line would not, if it moved, it would move me away from the sun. Even if I did cartwheels, as long as I stayed exactly sideways, if it's just the ground curving, that parallel line of sight to the sun is never going to change. I'd have to go past the moon. As long as I kept that same orientation.
I got a quick question for you, and Genesis, I think he want to make a question or a quick point. A question for you, Brian. How do you calculate surface area? That's from No Name.
Yeah, length times width, man. And I understand that's how the globe uses two-dimensional, okay? But I make the argument that the surface of a globe is three-dimensional, okay? And see, if you try to get the area of the globe, you have to use pi. You can't use just length and width. In reality, we use length and width, okay? But if you're trying to get the area of a circle, then you have to use pi. Or the radius, 2 pi r, or what is it? It's well, it depends if you're just going by the surface, yeah. Then it's 2 pi r. So that's not two-dimensional, man. That's three-dimensional measurement.
Wait,
Stingray, as you're moving up and down the globe, Stingray, are you following one longitude line?
I did. I have been all this time.
Genesis,
you
gotta.
The sun moves a little bit from east to west. I was wondering if you were perfectly following a line of.
Mojok man, jump in front of you, Genesis. You gotta go for it, man.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was, but I was a little bit off match. Yeah, 1st of April.
It's not easy to get in here to all these smart people. But if I was a flat earther and heard the stingrays demonstrations, I would run. Really.
Yeah, if I was Stingray, I'd answer a simple question.
So
Brian,
wait. That didn't work. That didn't work for an hour. Let me try.
Okay, I have a question for Brian. Why are you
showing converging sun rays, and you're going to say, well, they're parallel. They just appear to converge.
Because the
So
sun is
the
really far
latitude.
away,
So the hold
Brian.
on. So the latitude lines. So the latitude lines would also be parallel. Okay, they're parallel on a globe. Okay, the latitude lines are parallel. Okay.
I understand I'm out of here. Brian Stingray, continue.
So, Brian, I want to try. I know you have a globe, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Right, right. So take a sewing thread from the frame of the globe, somewhere above the equator, to some far point, I don't know, 2-3 yards away. Take another thread and tie it to the frame of the globe, somewhere above or below the equator, right?
I understand all that,
Look at the
Chucky. I
direction.
understand
Look
what
at
you're
the
getting
direction.
to.
Look
Right,
at
the lines
direction.
converge. Right, the lines converge toward the equator. Right.
Not only they converge, if you look from the convergence point, you see they converge across the globe. And it won't be a latitude line. It would be, if you follow this line on the globe, that the thread is always 90 degrees above you, yes, you will get to where the tie is, right? And you will converge from the subsolar point. You will diverge to the equator one side and to the other point on the other side. If you follow that line that is always 90 degrees above you. Simple, Brian.
I have some more questions when it's okay.
Wait, let me respond to that. I'm only referring to one point in time, Chucky, and that is sunrise on the equinox. That's
Absolutely,
it. I understand what you're saying. I understand that 90 degrees converges toward the equator. Okay.
I didn't say rotate the globe. Just follow the line.
I
globe.
understand that due east converges toward the equator on if I'm pulling string lines. Okay. However, so what you're saying is that due east is not parallel with the, okay, due east everywhere above and everywhere below is not parallel with the equator. So if I'm so on the equinox and only at sunrise on the equinox, if I'm looking due east, okay, along the equator, and if the sun's rays are parallel, okay, then everywhere else just for that time, only for that day, that and only the equinox, only sunrise would that have to change unless the sun's rays are not parallel?
Yeah, two due east are parallels. Okay, you moved 1 meter away, and you're not already not parallel with your due east 1 meter before it, because you walking on a circle.
I agree, but on a globe, okay, but in reality, we all look east, okay, due east, and we are all, if the sun rays are parallel, I don't think they are. My whole point.
Well,
I don't think the sun rays are parallel, and I think this proves that.
No, because you do look due east. However, if you follow this due east, you go under this due east on the face of the earth. You're no longer going due east.
To avoid that confusion, I just said, let's start together at the equator, and I'm going to move to 45 degrees north, but I'm not going to change my angle. I'm going to keep the same angle as I had, okay, when I left the equator. So me and you are going to maintain the same orientation, and I'm looking through a pipe, okay, and you just do a rotational line of sight coming out of that pipe hitting the sun. If I keep that orientation, I can go all the way to the North Pole. I can go all the way to the moon. As long as I don't change that orientation, the sun's parallel light rays coming from 93 million miles, okay, that sun will stay in that piece of PVC pipe, and my line will not deviate. It will stay parallel toward the sun from where I started. Now, you say it's just the ground underneath changing. It's just the ground underneath. I understand everything y'all are saying. Y'all are saying that the lines, okay, of latitude converge toward the equator, okay? But that's my problem. That's what I'm trying to explain. That's the entire problem.
That you understand. Go ahead, Chuck,
We didn't say lines of latitude converge. The the parallel lines, the projection of the parallel lines of the sun, of their path on the globe is converging.
Funny is that you keep
So
saying
not
you
parallel.
understand.
So not parallel, right?
They're
Converging.
parallel on
Yes,
one line
parallel.
of longitude. That's the only place they're parallel is for that one moment that you're on a line of longitude. All those latitudes are parallel. So if you
Right,
go up a
right.
line of
Exactly.
longitude,
Exactly,
every one of
dude.
those is parallel. However, if you follow that circle around on a great circle route, they will converge on the equator. You're not following the longitude line anymore because you're on a
Right.
fucking sphere.
Right. So they converge. Exactly. That's my whole point.
But your point is only merit.
No, you're saying my argument that the lines
Your
converge.
argument is stupid.
What? I'm sorry.
Do parallel lines
Hold on,
converge?
hold on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm still so confused on what you're actually trying to argue. I'm really, really confused. I have no idea what you're trying to argue.
B-ball, on a globe. Okay, on a globe. My east at 45 degrees north. That's not where I'm at, and you're at the equator. My east, okay, is not parallel with your east. My parallel. I mean, I meant to say my east is not parallel with the equator. My east converges toward the equator. Okay, do you argue that?
Your east. Hold on. Your east is
It's what that guy
parallel.
just said. What that guy just
Parallel
told
to
you.
the equator. Okay, so your east is parallel with the equator. Is that what you're saying? Or is not parallel with the equator? Say that again.
I'll let the other guy repeat it. He said that my east is not parallel with. If I'm 45 degrees north, my east is not parallel
Breaking up.
with the equator.
It is parallel
Why?
with. Oh,
Mojok,
Go
I
ahead,
can share.
no,
I can
go
share your
ahead, go
screen,
ahead.
Mojok man. I can share your screen, but be careful on sharing videos. That
this is mine.
if it's yours, it's okay. I mean, any content, just be careful. We don't want to get copyright.
Essentially, what I did with my video is I can't put my camera down on the globe, so I'm just looking at it from one position. There's a line of longitude right about here. It's real blurry. I'm sorry, but it goes right here. All the lines are east, going off this direction. So these are all parallel to each other, going that way. Now, as I move up and down the screen, as I move up and down my position on the Earth, I'm always pointing east. Now, if we take those, oops, shit. If I stop. If I take my line and I continue on this way around the surface of the Earth, I will intersect with the equator because the parallel line, what we call the parallel, the latitude lines, go around a circle like this.
Right. The latitude lines are all parallel, but the easts are not.
But they're only parallel at one point. Each latitude has its own unique set of parallel lines. When I look at
agree.
this one, it's got these are all parallel. And then I come over to this one, these are all parallel, but this one is not parallel to this one.
Right. So my latitudes, they're all parallel, but my east is not parallel. I agree. That's my whole argument, bro.
At the longitude, it is. And that's why when I go up and down on this globe.
Wait, where'd you say it is? Wait. Where'd you say it is?
On a longitude line. They are parallel.
That's my whole argument about Australia. I drew a line, okay, coming down from a longitude, and if you take a 90-degree turn, I did it at 30 degrees, 20 degrees, 10 degrees, okay, then you hit a line of, you hit a latitude line, okay? But you can't have both on a globe. You can't say that east is not, so that you're arguing against the globe when you say
No, I
that
demonstrated both.
everywhere on the same longitude line, that east is all the same direction. That's not how your globe model works.
I demonstrated both at the same time. When you look here, this is a line of longitude right here. And this is east, this is east, this is east.
Okay, so as long as we're on the
Each
same
other
line of
at that
longitude,
point.
so
Now,
would everybody agree with him?
As we look at this in 3D space, when I'm looking this way, the globe is curving away from me. So this line does not follow a parallel trajectory with my observed angle.
But if we're all at the same longitude, you just said that all of our easts are the same as long as we're, let's say if we're all on the primary up and down the globe, okay, above the equator and below the equator and at the equator, as long as we're at the same longitude, you said that all of our easts are the same. Would anybody disagree with that?
Brian, I have a question.
Go ahead, Genesis. Go ahead, Genesis. Yeah, you've been trying to get in there.
So nobody disagrees with that?
Hold on, Brian. Let Genesis see what he got. Try to.
Yeah. I'm not that smart, but Brian, I don't understand why do you hang out here where everyone is opposed to you? If you go to Bev's channel, everyone will agree with you.
Hold on, y'all are opposing each other.
What are you doing, Genesis? What the hell are you doing?
Sorry?
What the hell are you doing?
Y'all are opposing me and they're opposing each other. Because that guy just that if as long as we're on the same longitude line, all of our
but I mean, and
parallel.
Montreal and Rakia was always hanging out as Bev.
Dude, this is the best place for people to come in with the opposite view when we got somebody from both sides. This is it, man.
I take it all back and I will be quiet.
Yeah, I mean, like really? Am I gonna go to? I mean, I'm not gonna go to Bev one day and then grab whatever glober is there and say like, dude, what are you doing here talking to the flat earthers instead of going to my channel and talk to all globers over there? It's boring. I mean, that sucks.
Okay.
I like the people with the opposite view, people that disagree with us, so we can have a fun, entertaining conversation. You know? Shit.
I'll go there. I'll go there on model afflicted Mondays. I'll go to Bev's. That's when I go to Bev's is on model afflicted Mondays because I like to discuss the model. I'm trying to point out y'all's contradictions to each other and see if I can make sense of I have about 4 or 5 and y'all totally contradict each other. I usually make a video about it when y'all directly contradict each other, but I'm trying to reconcile the who's right and who's wrong and why y'all are contradicting each other to fit the argument.
Hey guys, I got a this is an announcement, a possibility, and I hope it happens. Rachi 50 and the Stingray. Stingray is gonna do some kind of a presentation, a conversation, a discussion with Rachi 50. Oh, Rachi, green light for me to create a little thumbnail, and whenever you are ready, we can wrap up this show, and I can kick off another show, just a little special, just you and the Stingray and me, just to provide the room. Over here on Discord, just the two of you, and then everybody will watch on YouTube. That'll be really cool. So we got that separated from the main, this main show. We've been in for a few hours almost, and I'm happy to do that. So Rachi, please tell me, give me a specific time. Right now it's 4:30 p.m. in Florida over here for me. If it's in 1 hour or 2 hours, give me a specific time so I can throw a thumbnail and schedule it, and you can jump into Discord and you can get all set up before the show. Thank you.
Can I make one more point before you close it out?
No, we're still here.
I'll make it quick.
I'm still gonna keep it rolling. Depends on what Rachi tells me. If she tells me she's gonna come in now in half an hour, then we'll wrap it up. If she tells me she's gonna come in 1 or 2 hours, then we'll know how much longer we have before we do the flip around to do an extra show.
Roger that.
Yep.
Okay, so if it's the equinox. Okay, I'm gonna try and change this just a little bit. It's pretty much the same, but it's the equinox, and I'm standing on the equator, and I'm with each one of y'all. Okay, and we're standing at the equator. I'm looking due east at sunrise, just sunrise, not any other time of day, not any other time of year, just sunrise. And I'm looking due east, so I'm looking parallel with the equator. Okay. Now, if I move, just pretend I'm a computer program, and I have a line of sight that's overlapping. It's a great circle overlapping the equator. Okay, but then it straightens out toward the sun. Okay, you move me north. Okay, and I don't change angles. Okay, the parallel line is going to move with me. Okay, and I'm gonna hit 10 degrees north, and my parallel equator, my fictitious equator that's riding with me, is going to be parallel at 10 degrees. It's going to overlap 10 degrees, then it's going to overlap 20 degrees, then it's going to overlap 30 degrees. Now, if you twist me, okay, then our easts are going to be all different. My east is not going to be parallel with the equators if you twist me on a globe. And that's my whole argument, is that the parallel, you can't have parallel sun rays, okay, and converging east on the equinox at sunrise.
And how is this bad for the globe model? I really don't understand that part.
Well, take your pick. Do you choose parallel sun rays, or do you pick?
Yes, we know the sun rays are parallel. That's not an issue.
Or do you pick converging east? You can't have them both.
No, on a sphere, we've already showed you that on a sphere looking east, but the important thing is if you maintain the direction east, then that east vector will always be east and thus always be parallel to the equator and will actually diverge from the sun because you're going around a sphere. But if you look east, that diverges, and you're above the equator, that diverges away from that slice of the Earth. And that's exactly what was predicted on the model that I showed you on a sphere. It's exactly what we see in reality. It's measurable. We can get predictions from it. It's always correct. It's just how it works, Brian.
The Stingray,
Okay.
are you
Then
the Stingray, are you up for 2 hours from now to talk to Rachi?
Yeah, I can spare half an hour.
I appreciate it. Yeah, in 2 hours, I'm gonna do kind of a little schedule, and we have you and Rachi just a discussion, whatever. Good.
So when I move from the equator to 10 degrees, okay, my line of sight to the sun, which is the equator line, basically, is the equator line, okay? And when I get to 10 degrees, okay, if you move me away, and it's the ground that changes angle. I keep the same orientation. So if I keep the same orientation, then my fictitious equator coming out my eyeball is going to overlap 10 degrees north latitude, and I'm still going to be looking directly at the sun, correct?
I don't know what you're on about anymore, Brian. It's just
It's a simple question.
if you use a direction and vector coordinate system that is star fixed, it's parallel. Everything works. Everything's fine. It's a globe.
You can sum it up with that instead of answering a very simple question, bro. If I
showed you on the model, Brian. The further at the equinox, it's always going. At the equinox, it's always going to be east.
Right. I understand that. That's reality, bro. That's reality. I'm not arguing against reality. Yeah. What I'm arguing against is your model. Okay. Now, why won't you answer this simple question?
Why are you trying to argue against the model
to the sun?
If he showed you on the model how it matches reality, why are you still trying to argue this?
Wait, Stingray, would you agree with the guy who just said that as long as we're at the same longitude, okay, we all have the same east everywhere on the globe, up and down, north and south.
Brian, we all have.
Nobody disagreed with that.
You broke up. You said we all have, and then it broke up.
Okay, if we're all this guy, nobody disagreed with him, and he said that if we're at the same, if everybody's at the same longitude up and down the globe, above the equator and below the equator, that we all have the same east as long as we're at the same longitude. And nobody disagreed with that.
No,
Do you
that's true.
disagree?
All
That's
these
true.
are parallels. Yes.
A 3D system, a star fixed system, that's all true. Everybody's looking parallel, just like the sun rays are coming in parallel.
So east doesn't converge as long as we're at the same longitude.
East converges when you wrap it round a sphere, Brian. Not if you just set off in a vector direction. A unit
So
vector.
if we're at the same longitude, it still converges then, right? What would this...
Only
so you just
if,
made an exception, bro.
Brian, only if you don't get this. East, in order to keep traveling east on a sphere, you are traveling around a curved surface of a sphere. Yes?
I understand that. That's why I'm using parallel. That's why I'm using the equinox when the lines are parallel, bro.
Not matter. A sphere still means that you are traveling around a sphere if you move east.
Yes, yes.
Because on one hand,
that.
you're saying if we move up and down this longitude line, what happens? And we're all saying, hey, you're all looking in a parallel direction. Sun rays are coming in parallel. You're all looking at the same direction. Wicked. And then you say, well, east converges. So what you're then doing?
Because you're saying now, saying now that east doesn't converge, bro. As long as we're at the same longitude, east doesn't converge. That's what you just said.
So let me finish. You're then taking east as a single direction. In other words, you're not maintaining east round a latitude line which curves. You're saying, well, with the sun and the light rays parallel lines. Well, now if you're taking a line east away from your source position on that longitude line, it is going to, and you're above the equator, it is going to diverge away.
I agree, bro. East does diverge, bro. I agree. It's reality. That's empirical. East is never parallel.
100% on a sphere. Yes, Brian. Thank you.
Hey, Ray, can I have him for a minute? I want to look at my camera right now.
Wait, are you standing behind that? So as long as we're at the same longitude, east does not converge.
Look at my camera, if you would be so kind, Mr. Leak. I've got a live camera image. You can tell me what to do with the camera. But I'm going to show you one thing before I do that. So can you see my camera?
Yes.
Okay. So at this location here, at this longitude,
you're going to show me how that east converges, and I agree that east converges.
I don't think I asked you to talk.
Yeah, go ahead.
Coming over here, we are parallel with the equator at this point. If we came all the way down here, we could point in the same direction as over there. But now when I come over here and I look at the sun, you can see it is east of that location, perfectly east. And any position I move around this globe, let's see if I can get the thing to work. It is east. It is east. It is east. But now, more importantly, when I come over here, you can see, I gotta get it all the way over.
I agree. Everything you're saying, I agree with.
It intersects with the equator. So on a globe, this is what we expect. And it's not, nothing you, if you agree with this, then you agree with the globe model works.
So no parallel sun rays. No, bro, you are doing a great job of explaining my point. You're showing east converging and then trying to claim parallel sun rays too at the same time. You can't have parallel sun rays for everybody.
The sun rays are over here. They're parallel. They're coming in all the way over to here, coming in straight, as parallel as I can get from 5 feet. So they're coming in straight, and I'm seeing the same light bulb, the same image. It's all the same light. They're coming in parallel, and it does the crossing the 3D object. It crosses the equator, and they are all parallel as you come down the face of the globe. I don't understand where your question is.
What crosses the equator? So east on the equator is not the equator. So the parallel. So the sun on the equator does not rise 0 degrees and set 180. Now that's what you're saying.
Okay, this is parallel here, all the way down the Earth is parallel. Of course, my Earth isn't perfectly rotating right now, but
Because listen, let me drill my point home real quick. Because the east are converging, the on the equinox the sun rises 0 and sets 180, but it doesn't follow that path for anywhere else on the globe in reality except the equator. That's the only place that that's the only place that draws a straight line. But that's because the sun's rays are not parallel.
No, they don't converge at all. If I come down, this is the same setup, but as I come down different latitude and longitude, they are crossing the equator, but they're crossing at fixed distances. The great circle routes will cross at fixed distances, like that. So it's not converging; they're parallel. All these lines going to the sun are parallel.
Okay, draw a great circle from 45 degrees.
Okay, 45 degrees. Okay, I call that about 45 degrees. Okay, 45 degrees, Middle America.
You realize your great circle is not your line of latitude, right?
I know. In this case, it's east. When I point east, it's the great circle in the direction of east.
Right. Okay. Now go south. Now go south. Now go south and do the same thing.
Okay.
And they're both converging at the equator. Okay.
Yeah, but they're pointing at the sun. I think that's the whole.
So is it the sun's rays changing angle, or is it?
This is parallel. This is parallel, and this is parallel. This is parallel.
Say that again.
This is parallel. This is parallel, and this is parallel. As I can get
the latitude lines, right? The latitude lines are parallel, and that's once again, don't deviate from sunrise on the equinox. Just right then and there.
It doesn't matter. No matter where, the sun rays are always parallel.
No, not if east is converging. If east is converging, bro.
What do you mean by this east is converging? That's where I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Because if east is converging, then the latitude lines wouldn't be parallel. If the latitude lines are all parallel with the equator, bro. I don't know what's so hard to understand about this. Y'all could talk me out of this point if you say the right thing, but you're just dodging my whole point.
You're saying the right thing. We can converge. Right?
Okay. I adjusted my globes to make it for my setup. So now we see it's parallel. It's parallel. Parallel. It's following. At each one of these locations that we go up and down the globe, this line right here, it's always parallel, or it's always perpendicular to that line.
Yeah, the latitude lines are parallel, but east.
Only at one instant time, or they're concentric. So I mean,
yeah, east changes.
Parallel is a bad word.
East changes direction, wrapping around a sphere, Brian. End of.
That's why I'm not using the ground. I'm trying to get y'all to think in 3 dimensions, and instead of thinking about what it's doing, what I'm trying to do is get you to forget about the ground curving away from you underneath. That's why I'm trying to start us all off at the equator and leave somebody there and move away. That way we keep the sun in focus. Okay? If we keep the sun in focus, as long as if it's just the ground curving underneath me, if it's the ground curving, and if I keep the same orientation, okay, then my line of sight's gonna stay parallel with the equator. When I left the equator, if I do not change orientation, bro, if the sun's rays are parallel and I keep the same orientation, I can go all the way to 45 degrees north, and this will follow me right on up there. So forget about the ground. Forget about the ground underneath us. Just picture us hovering above there, keeping the same orientation. That parallel line that was parallel with the equator is going to follow me. But now you're saying when I drop down, okay,
right. We change orientation.
All of a sudden my line has to warp and curve toward the equator.
Nope.
Brian, we do change orientation. We think of up is up, right? we do change the orientation of up, and then we follow the earth beneath us.
But if you're going to think in 3D, if just look, just
in 3D,
forget about
the lines are parallel.
I'm demonstrating 3D. I don't know why you're having trouble with this.
I'm agreeing with what you're saying, man. But you keep going back and forth. You keep going back and forth with parallel sun rays, parallel fucking east, parallel sun rays, converging east.
This is all of these parallel lines to the sun. Parallel, 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 parallel. Parallel, 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 parallel. Okay? Each one of them crosses my equator at some point, but an equal distance apart. As I go, it crosses the equator with a uniform spacing. So it's not converging. Parallel circles. It's almost like I'm putting a whole bunch of great circle wraps around the globe as I go around.
Okay, so picture that above the ground. Picture that leaving the equator and maintaining your orientation and just getting a little higher off the ground. Okay, so your parallel line, your parallel fictitious line going all the way to the sun. Okay, is it's gonna move up to 10 degrees, and as it's crossing 10 degrees, as you're crossing 10 degrees, you see the ground underneath you angling, right? But your parallel equator, your fictitious equator coming from your eyeball, is going to overlap 10 degrees north latitude, okay? Because they're all parallel. And now once you go to the ground and change your orientations, okay? I agree, all that shit happens, okay? I agree, okay? But let's just keep the same sun in our focus. Let's not change angles. Let's keep going north. So now we go to 20 degrees north, and we're higher up off the ground, and we look down, and the ground's curving away. But then we're seeing 20 degrees latitude. We're still parallel with the equator. Okay, we're parallel with 20 degrees north latitude. Our fictitious line of sight will cover up 20 degrees. Now what you're saying is when you drop to the ground, all of a sudden my east changes, then that means the sun's rays aren't parallel, okay? Because if I keep the same orientation and move north and south away from the equator, okay, then the sun follows me.
Yep, like my demonstration, yeah.
So when I drop and hit the ground, okay, then what's the difference?
Well, I'm about I don't know 30,000 miles. No, actually about 6,000 miles away from the Earth now.
So all of a sudden my east has to change?
Nope, still the same east. East is defined by this right here. That little white line right there approximately is east. The one that's running up just sort of the middle of the country. That's east. That's east. That's east. That's east. That's east.
So east converges, right?
There's no converging. There is no converging. This is, unless my globe is moved, this is roughly parallel. Right over to here, parallel, straight. When I get down on the equator, it's a straight line going across. Now I come up here. It doesn't converge. It meets the equator because it's a
so when I drop
path.
down, there you go. So when I drop down at 20 degrees latitude, when I drop down, I'm at the same angle. The ground's curving, so I'm standing like I haven't had my V8 yet, right? But I'm still looking parallel with the equator. I'm looking directly over 20 degrees north latitude, right? I'm just angled, right?
I'm not sure I follow that at all.
Well, you're just saying it's parallel, parallel, parallel. I mean, I'm just reinterpreting what you just said. So, if my line of sight's not going to change anywhere on the globe, the only thing that's going to change is the ground underneath me, right? If I keep the same orientation, the ground is change, okay? But my east is going to stay the same as it was when I left the equator. As long as I keep that same orientation, just answer me that one question. As long as I keep that same orientation, okay, my east is going to stay the same no matter how far north I go or how far south I go, as long as I keep that same orientation.
Correct.
Would you agree with that?
Correct. For the position you stood in.
And okay, so it would never converge. So my east would never converge.
No, incorrect, Brian. Your east.
So you drop me down to the ground.
Your east, when you're above the equator, Brian, is different to when you're on the equator, because when you're on the equator, that single slice of the Earth, you are going the same direction, albeit you might wrap that round on yourself.
So the sun's rays aren't parallel then.
Let me finish nearly there. However, when you go above the equator, your east, if you went in a straight direction, east, and you only took a vector when you started and you didn't maintain east, then that line would converge down to the equator.
So when I drop down to the ground,
you can use a knife and an orange.
Hold on, I know that. So when I drop down to the ground, my east changes because my angle changes, right? What do you know? If I keep the same orientation, at the equator, okay, the ground's curving out from underneath me, okay, but the sun's following me north as long as I keep the same orientation, correct?
I give up.
It's easy.
I got something.
Would anybody answer that question? If I keep the same orientation.
Brian, honestly, mate, I'm really trying to.
Bro,
help.
you don't understand. You're going back and forth. You're going back, and you're
I'll tell
literally.
you what, this is my last chance, my last effort to show you.
What you're doing,
Look
one
at my
second you're
screen
saying
again.
that the rays are parallel. The next second you're saying that east converge.
My God, Brian. Honestly, no one has a problem with this that can perceive geometry. It is just you, I promise you.
Bro, I understand every point you've made, bro. I understand every point you've made.
Okay,
You're just
okay. Look at this then, Brian. Are you looking at my screen? We are now at the equator. We are now at the equator, and we are looking at a 1,000,000 away sun. We've got the Terminator line, and I can go north along a longitude line.
Wait a minute.
Now,
Wait, are you arguing? Hold on. Wait, is this your parallel sun rays or your converging east argument? Which one is this?
No, this hasn't changed. Your understanding is bad. This has never changed. This always and will always use parallel light rays and always and will always work 100% on a sphere. Now, all I'm going to do here for you, Brian, is can you see this line, this center line that runs left to right around this lat long widget that I've got? So the lines that run upwards are the longitude lines. The ones that are here are latitude lines. Can you see how, if I move up, this observer here always sees the same direction to the sun? Yeah. So we're now at 45 degrees, yet the sun is still at the same on the equinox. Moving away from the equator, we can see that it's always the same angle to the sun. It's always east. However, can you also see that on a sphere, if we maintain that east, it's actually moving, but not the direction east, along the surface of the Earth, the single direction to the sun, which was east here, but then starts to be not east as we travel along that line, because it's a sphere. And that's why the sun moves as it does when the planet rotates. So this is still east only at the point of Miami. If we go to this straight line that is east looking at the sun, 1,000 miles out, it is no longer looking east.
East is just a circle that goes around the central North Pole, though. You're kind of acting like east is some north, south, east, west plus sign or crosshair, cardinal direction. That's inaccurate. East-west is a circle that goes around the centralized North Pole. So east-west could potentially change depending on the path of the sun and where it rises or sets at equinox or on the horizon or whatever. So I think we have a bit of equivocation here, gentlemen, as to what exactly we're saying when we're saying due east, due west, or whatever. Even with this wonderful model of yours, Dress. Wonderful movie.
Yeah, no, thank you. But to me, due east, due west, north and south are star. We use the stars. It's true north. So to us, it's around the axial spin of the Earth, and that's consistent. It works with a sphere. It works with a globe. We've navigated with it since even before we couldn't read, magnetic lines. We've done it. It works. It always works. It never fails. It's a sphere.
Well,
Right.
that assumption's a little dangerous because the sun could be rotating at a different altitude than the star field and give you a totally different east and west because as objects like the sun, moon, and stars at their particular height and their particular elevation go away from you, eventually they will merge into the floor and appear to set at a different rate, giving you a different, due east west based off of their height above the surface. So there's too many variables
Oh,
here
The
for you
North,
to
Hey, Lemon.
the
safely
Wait, let
North
me ask
Star
Lemon a
does
question.
not
that the
Lemon, hey,
sun,
set.
moon,
Lemon,
and
did you hear my
stars are in
Lemon?
the same elevation. Chikey was trying to get in, and you
Yeah,
started.
that's why we don't
Did you
use
hear
the
my did you
sun.
hear my point though, real quick? I just want to know yes or no. Did you hear my argument
I
with
did not hear it. No.
Okay, real quick. Okay, so they can't have they can't have east converging toward the equator from the northern and southern hemisphere and have parallel sun rays on the equinox, because if you were at the equator and I was at the equator and we're looking due east along the equator, draw a fictitious line coming out my eyeballs, and if I move north and I don't change orientation, okay, if I do not change orientation, then that parallel line is going to come with me north, okay, and so it's going to overlap 10 degrees, it's going to overlap 20 degrees, it's going to overlap 30 degrees. So they can't have converging easts and parallel sun rays on the equinox.
Well, you'd have to use some sort of perspective thing. But Chikey, you were saying?
I was saying that's why we don't use the sun to tell us where east is. We use the North Star to tell us where north is, and from there we know where east and west is, right?
Based
Because
off
the
of the
sun is
rotation
not
of the
very
star.
reliable. It moves all around the year. We don't know what day it is, so we can't tell if it's east or not.
Okay, so it looks like you're saying that we find out where the North Star is in the hypothetical northern center and try to go, 90 degrees of rotation in the star field. We see the star field rotating overhead like a record and see where that record appears to go 0 degrees to 180 degrees in the axis going straight through the north to get some sort of east-west from that or
Wherever
something?
you are, when you look at the North Star, 90 degrees to that's east.
But that's a little arbitrary, isn't it? I mean,
it?
what if the sun's in a lower elevation
That's why
and setting
I ignore the
before it
sun
reaches
completely.
that 90-degree point?
That's
Stuff
why I
that's closer
ignore
to the
the sun,
ground
Lemon.
has a different rate of convergence into the surface that you're above versus stuff that's higher up that appears to dip down toward the horizon at a different rate.
Why did you bring the sun when I try to ignore it?
Because they may be in different fields, Chikey, of elevation, and therefore the sun may set sooner than something in the star field, which is higher up, giving you a different due east-west depending on which object sets first, the stars or the sun.
Lemon, the North Stars do not set or rise, ever. That doesn't happen.
Can you do what I did with the globe with the string and a flashlight? Can you do that on a flat Earth? Could you move position all around and explain the positions of the stars or the sun or anything?
They'd just be rotating overhead like a record, with local deformation due to perspective moyak, or a glass firmament dome, or the thickness of the atmosphere.
So could you demonstrate that?
Well, you can demonstrate the perspective part by looking down a hallway. You see parallel lines in the hallway, just like with the sun, moon, and stars. As long as they don't change elevation, they're going to mimic the hallway and appear to merge into the surface.
That's very different. In a hallway, they move in a non-linear fashion as you increase distance. As on Earth, they move in a linear fashion. So in reality,
no, it doesn't.
we see a linear progression of the stars down towards the horizon until the last 5 degrees or so. And in your model, they've got to be moving in a linear fashion. So how do you explain? How do you make it move in a linear fashion?
That is an
That defies geometry.
idealized relationship, Moyak, that doesn't actually match reality. As it gets toward the horizon, the rate slows down. You chalk it up
Right.
to refraction, but we can chalk it up to the exact same behavior we would see down a hallway where things appear to slow down in their rate of perspective convergence toward the level of the eyes. They get closer and closer to the level of the eyes, too. So I don't think we have a problem there, Moyak. I think we have
The
idealized
refraction,
rhetoric.
the sun and moon and stuff don't they move at 15 degrees per hour until they get somewhere close to the horizon. Let's call it 20 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so all the way from 90 to 20, or I should say from 20 to 20, going across the sky. So what's that? 140 degrees? Yeah, 140 degrees of motion. It moves at 15 degrees per hour. Then it slows down at the end. So it doesn't match perspective at all. And
It's fine. It works fine.
The slight modification you see as you approach the horizon is, inconsequential. It's nothing like what we see in reality.
Well, you're trying to explain it within your paradigm where it has to be a rotating ball with a more or less constant rate, and you're explaining away the anomalies toward the horizon as refraction. From a flatty perspective, it just looks like something at a constant elevation over a more or less flat surface, just like looking down a hallway that appears to be merging into the surface eventually if you get too far away from the object, be it Polaris or the sun, or if it circles too far away from you. It's the same thing.
But you have to explain away 100. You have to explain away 140. No, actually 180 degrees of yours is wrong. It's wrong at every single point along that 180 degrees from geometry, and you're satisfied with that. Whereas I have 40 degrees where it goes off by a half a degree, maybe a little bit less, depending on how high above the horizon is. Maximum half a degree. Yours is off by orders of magnitude. So why is yours so fucked up?
Well, the thing is, you're trying to use idealized geometry. I feel more than comfortable using idealized geometry to disprove the globe because the globe is a physical object, which is discrete and needs to be countable just like a dozen eggs. This Earth of 3959 miles of radius needs to be somewhat countable if we're making these physical claims, but we can't do that. We don't see these ratios working out with the physical globe. And so I feel quite comfortable using geometry for that, but not for vision, because vision doesn't have discrete units like this discrete hump of Earth curve that you're talking about. So one needs to be half more than the other.
So you mean the discrete measurements that we can get within a couple of 100 feet with good gear everywhere around the Earth? Stellar navigation within a couple 100 feet, we can identify our position. Discrete.
Discrete as in you count out 12 dozen eggs and they're there for the beginning, middle, and end of the counting process and don't converge, merge, and disappear like the units of vision do when you're looking down a hallway or looking with perspective. You don't have a countable unit to give me visually, so you're using idealized math and idealism, frankly, to say that math should match reality when you don't have a reality to count out visually. I'm sorry.
Well, actually, down the hallway, I can see discreetly. I can tell you that if I'm 1 degree down a 50-foot hallway, I can tell you exactly how far down the wall I am. I can tell you exactly the position I am.
Your idealized situation only works in ideal conditions, namely when you have equal room up and down, left and right from the level of the eyes. That's impossible with most objects towering way above, say, the 6-foot observer. You have a 100-foot building that you're trying to impose this idealized math onto. That would only apply if you could somehow levitate up to the halfway point of the object with half of it above the level of the eyes and half of it below. Then your idealized math may work because the conditions are there for it. But in real life, those conditions aren't there. So it's just an idealized abstraction and an approximation that you're trying to math the crap out of in a weird way.
No, a weird way. Geometric. Go ahead. I've monopolized them.
No, Ken. This is your. You asked me to build something, and then I decided, I'll build something else as well. And this is kind of an extrapolation on what you asked me to build. So what this is, Lemon, if you can view my screen, is this is how the pixels would interpret a huge container vessel. Now, this effect is based on projection outwards, but is no different and is 100% comparable to reality on projection inwards using light. And what we have here is we've got a camera on the right. If you're looking at my screen, Lemon, I don't know whether you are or not.
Lemon? Did Lemon duck out?
No, it's still there.
Oh, okay, there it is.
I'll carry on anyway, I guess.
Is Brian still there?
Yeah, he's on mute at the moment.
Yeah, I'm here. I got something, a description that maybe you didn't think about. Okay, we're going to go to your description. We're on the equinox, and we have an observer at the equator, and we're at the 80-degree longitude, your hometown, and we're going to go 45 degrees north and have another observer, and you're going to take your telescopes or your PVC pipe, and at 6:30, which is sunrise, you're going to be pointing both your telescopes at the sun. Both telescopes are parallel to the equator, right? That was what you pointed out earlier?
On the equinox,
that's absolutely true,
on the equinox
right?
at sunrise.
All right, hold on.
As long as we keep the same orientation, yes.
It was a yes. It was a yes. The telescopes are parallel to the equatorial plane. Okay. An hour and a half later, at the equator, the sun is risen to 38 degrees and still looking east. At 45 degrees north, your telescope is pointed 20 degrees or 29 degrees to the right of east.
I see what
and
you're
a vertical.
getting at. That's the first
Yeah,
answer.
hold on. Wait, no, you don't know what I'm getting at. You can't read my mind.
I'm agreeing with you, man. I like your answer.
All right, well then just be quiet, and I'll know you're agreeing. So at 9:30 or 9 o'clock, an hour and a half later, at 45 degrees north, your telescope is now pointed to an azimuth of 119 degrees and a vertical angle of 25.8 degrees. And your telescope at 45 degrees north is still parallel to the equator. And at noon, at 45 degrees north, you're looking due south and 45-degree vertical angle. At the equator, you're at the subsolar point. And 5 minutes later, at the equator, now you're looking west. And, and at 45 degrees north, you're looking slightly southwest.
I agree with that. So east don't.
So the telescope during the entire day at 45 degrees north, the entire day, every time you point your telescope at the sun, your telescope is parallel to the equator. Even though it sweeps through 180 degrees of azimuth and 45 degrees of vertical angle, it is still always parallel to the equator.
So east don't converge. Thank you. For fuck's sake.
Yeah, but my point is your telescope is at 45 degrees north. Your telescope was, when pointing at the sun, is parallel to the equator.
I'm good with that, bro.
Okay.
I'm good with that. That's reality.
Okay.
So in reality, east don't converge. I agree with in fact, really, I agree that east do converge in reality. Okay, and you're saying that the sun's rays are parallel. Okay. But the east and then east don't converge. And in my reality, east do converge, but the sun's rays are not parallel, not completely.
And as I described, your telescope at 45 degrees north all day long remains parallel to the equator, even though your vertical angle goes from 0 to 45 and your azimuth goes from 0 to 270. From 190 to 270. Now, by agreeing to that, you agree in the shape of the Earth and the and the great distance to the
Yeah,
sun.
you're agreeing east do not converge. And y'all hear that, guys? Another person backing me up. East do not converge. So globe debunked. You can't have both. You can't have converging.
No. By agreeing that the telescope at 45 degrees north remains parallel to the equator regardless of the vertical angle or azimuth. That's a globe.
If you say it's parallel with the equator, then it doesn't converge.
Only at the
But
latitude.
the azimuth of the telescope is 100 at 9 o'clock. The azimuth of the telescope is 119 degrees.
If we took off toward the sun, if you took off from the equator and I took off from 45 degrees, okay, and we went straight toward the sun, we would stay parallel the entire way, okay? So
Right.
on the equinox at sunrise, if the sun is due east from you at the equator, okay, and you're looking directly east at the equator, along the equator, okay, then if I head directly toward the sun and you head directly toward the sun the whole time, okay, our easts are never going to converge. We're going to hit different parts. However far apart we are, that's how far apart we'll hit the sun away from each other.
And to follow that up, so at 9 o'clock, an hour and a half later, at 45 degrees north, your azimuth is now 119. But the azimuth at the equator is still 0. And if those were actually gun barrels and you both took a shot, you'd still both hit the sun. Right.
Right. So east don't converge, okay? This is what you're arguing.
I don't understand this east and converging. At 45 degrees north, you'll have to sweep your telescope through 180 degrees of azimuth. At the equator,
you're backing up my argument, man.
It's always looking east. It's always looking east in the morning and always west in the afternoon.
Y'all
But
hear
at
that?
45,
Y'all hear that, guys?
you have to sweep through the whole 180 degrees.
Y'all hear that, guys? We heard from a fucking surveyor, okay?
There's no east pole. Is that what you're saying? There's no east pole?
And I have one last attempt, Brian. Just one last attempt. I'm gonna really do that.
Now you're gonna start converging east.
No, look at this, Brian.
What does he mean?
Larry,
East doesn't converge?
if you look at my screen, this is what he means. This is what he means.
Was I clear enough?
This is his argument.
No, Stingray. Was I clear enough?
Yes, but Brian's confused, and I'm going to show you what he's confused with, so that you know, because you don't. So Brian, and I can do it with just asking Brian questions. Brian, can we agree that this is a sphere and that I have a longitude and latitude intersection on a sphere? Correct.
Hey, Larry, do you agree that...
Brian, this is your point. This is your point, Brian. Can you see my screen? No. Please. I'm gonna ask you questions. I will make no statements. I will only ask you questions. Right, please, let's just do this. Can you see this? What color is this object here? Right. So can we agree that the white one is latitude, the green one is longitude? We can agree that, correct?
Yeah, why don't you draw a skin?
Please let me just finish. I'm just asking you some questions to make sure that we all understand your point. On this longitude, this latitude plane, let's forget about that for 2 seconds. Can we now also agree that this intersects the sphere? Are we agreed on that?
If that's the case, we're not.
No, I'm saying, are we agreed on the fact that the intersection of this... Yes, brilliant. Now, if I keep doing this, each one of those is east-west on a sphere. The intersections. Now, do you notice on the surface what is happening to the east-west? They are actually converging down here. They don't maintain east-west.
Right.
Okay?
So now, yes. So...
No, because if you look at this, Brian, we agreed to start off with that with this here, and I'll go to 45 degrees, this plane was actually looking at the sun in the distance. These two edges here are parallel, the edges of them. They are divergent in angle, but the two edges and the direction is parallel.
Yeah, and then you turn them that way, they're not converging if you turn them that direction.
It's Larry, basically, he doesn't get the. He doesn't.
I'm only using
Wait a minute, just really quickly, because Larry.
Using sunrise equinox.
Yeah, yes, this is equinox. Larry, the basic contention is this: he doesn't understand that east at a 45 latitude here would not stay east if you travelled round a sphere.
I do understand that, man. What you don't understand is that to have parallel, if I'm going to be looking parallel to you at the equator, parallel to me is a latitude line. My parallel, if I'm looking parallel, if you're going to draw me 45 degrees north, if you draw, hold on, if you draw a line to the sun, okay, it's going to be parallel with that equator line to the sun, okay? And the only difference is going to be the distance we are apart, or how far apart the lines that hit the sun are going to be apart. Okay, that's
Are we agreed that these intersections here all frozen time, the sun is way off in that direction over there, and this green is the longitude line. The only one that we're on about, and we're at the equinox. Fine. I'm fine with all of that. Now, if we look at these, the edges of these are all parallel.
But
and they
now
go.
You have your latitude.
So wait a minute. Nearly done. Look at this. I'll do it smaller for you. The edges of these are all parallel and go off to the sun. Now, increasing those parallel planes.
So is that what your latitude lines look like, bro?
Down on the orientation of a sphere, we can see that they no longer sit east when you diverge away from that longitude line. So we have parallel rays coming in from the sun, but then when we map that to the orientation and slice the sphere, we see that east up here in this vector is not the same as east.
Your east are not converging now.
These are the parallel light rays coming in. These are the parallel light rays coming in. These are the parallel light rays coming in.
Let me respond, bro. Stingray, can I please respond? Now your east are not converging. What you're showing me are east not converging. Now you're arguing for the parallel sun rays. You keep going back and forth. But what you're showing me,
Brian,
you're not showing me converging east.
No, please look at this. Please look at this. Each one of these points towards the sun and intersects the globe. They all start out east on this longitude split. They all go east from this longitude split towards the sun. They are all parallel. Now, when we trace them, please let me finish. When we trace them on the surface of the Earth, we then start to realize that east up here, following this parallel light ray, does not equal east further down because it's a sphere.
Intersect with the equator.
Right, so your east are not converging. What you're showing me east not converging.
How please go to school. Jesus. You do it, you're a troll. You do not believe
No,
this.
I'm not, man. No, I'm not, bro. I can't believe you don't understand what you're even showing me. You keep going back and forth, bro. Back and forth.
One last point, Brian. One last point, Brian. You're standing somewhere, anywhere, right there on your beach, and you head off due east. So you're heading off along the latitude, but you make no turns. At every mile further you go without making any turns, you're no longer going east.
Right. Exactly.
You're heading down towards the intersection. You're heading north. you're heading down towards the intersection of his planes, of those
Great
planes.
point.
So as you travel in a great circle, if you start off east and make no turns, for every mile you go, you're no longer east.
Right. I'm going to intersect with you at the equator, which means the sun's rays can't be parallel if my east is not parallel with your east.
No,
You
it
can't
was
have both,
parallel.
bro.
at sunrise, like I said, as you sweep you brought up the telescope or the PVC pipe, and if you're 45 degrees north on the equinox or any other day, on the equinox, as you sweep that telescope at 45 degrees north, that telescope is always parallel to the equator.
Okay, so if I leave the equator and you stay there, and I stay up in the air. I keep the same orientation, right? So my line stays parallel, okay, from the equator. My line just gets further away from the equator, but it stays parallel, like Stingray drew. That means no convergence. So when I drop down to the ground, okay, that line is never gonna cross the equator. If you tilt me sideways, okay, then you're gonna converge the east. You're going to converge east toward the equator, but I'm no longer going to be looking in the same direction, bro. Is my whole point.
I have no idea what you just said.
I've tried to explain it so many different ways. But do you understand? Would you agree with this, though, Larry? Would you agree that if it's the ground curving away? So if I travel away from the equator 20 degrees north, okay, and I keep the same line of sight, okay, and I keep the same orientation as you at the equator, I'm higher up off the ground that's curving away, but the sun's going to follow me, right?
I don't know what I don't have a good visual of what you just described. I mean, his graphic right there is very good. That's all I got to say.
Yeah,
is when you're 45 degrees north and an hour and a half after sunrise, you're looking southeast. And if you're on the equator, you're still looking east. On the equator, you're looking at 38 degrees north, and at 45 degrees north, you're looking at 28 degrees north. If you agree to that, then you agree to the globe.
But all right, but you can't follow this one thing. So if I keep the same orientation as you, at the equator, I leave the equator, and I stay in a straight path. By the time I get to 20 degrees north, okay, the sun's following me north. Okay, the ground's curving underneath me. Okay, but I'm keeping the same orientation as I started at the equator. So my parallel line is just getting further and further away from the equator, but it's staying parallel, right? And the sun's following me, correct?
Can you describe this?
Stingray. Yeah, Stingray. Yes, Stingray. Did you understand? You understand that description?
So the basic premise is actually that he doesn't. I don't think he grasps the idea. So first of all, he says it has to be in one time, and that's fine. I'm fine with that. But then he expands that direction east, and he expands it infinitely. Now that's what I've done here. I've expanded it infinitely, and they are all parallel. But we can see that those parallel directions on a sphere intersect via. So every one of these, Brian, is parallel light rays coming in and intersecting the Earth. And we can see that even though every one of them is east on this longitude green bit,
that look like a parallel light ray to you?
see that the slice of the Earth makes them, and the shape of it makes them converge.
Look,
so your
now
direction,
he flip-flop.
So your directions in a star-fixed coordinate system are all parallel, but when you change them to be latitude and longitude and extrapolate them out across the surface, they are going to move away from east, just like Larry said.
Does that look like a parallel sun ray to you?
Yes, absolutely.
Brian.
There is no divergence whatsoever in any of these.
Except look at the surface of where you just left. Look at the surface.
Brian.
Yes, it's coming in parallel. They're all parallel.
You say parallel. So right there is your. See, you twist it one way, and your east are not diverging. You twist it the other way, your sun rays aren't parallel. You're trying to have them both. How come y'all can't answer this simple question? It's
No,
very
I'm
simple.
not.
Y'all
These
say y'all
are
don't understand. You
parallel
say you don't
rays.
understand what I'm saying, but it's a question. The question is if I keep the same orientation as you, and I leave you at the equator, okay, and I keep the same orientation, is the sun gonna follow me? If I don't change orientation whatsoever, and I start heading north,
You've already
okay,
answered this,
is
Brian.
the sun gonna follow me, right? The sun's
Yes,
gonna follow me, and my line of sight.
This here shows you exactly that, Brian. We've already answered you on the equinox. If you
What's
go
the answer
up
then?
this,
What's the
if you
answer?
go up this, yes, if you go up this longitude, and we have, and I've got 4 here, 4 little positions, we can see that they are all parallel, and they all go in the same direction to an infinite sun. But we can see that if we followed that direction, not east, but we followed that. Wait a minute, let me finish. Nearly done. We can see that if we followed that direction, initially being east, and all we did is walk towards the sun, frozen in time, we would have to diverge away from east on a sphere, which is what we see in reality.
Okay, so then answer. You say you answered, but I've been trying to get answered the whole entire show, bro. If I keep the same orientation and leave the equator, okay, I keep a parallel line of sight, parallel with the equator, correct? And when I get to 20 degrees north, okay, it's a parallel line further away from the equator, and I keep the same orientation as you. The sun's gonna follow me, right?
Yeah, that's what this diagram is. Yep, absolutely.
Hold on, Stingray.
When I drop down to the ground,
Brian, I already told you, you do change orientation. You do change orientation. What can you do?
No,
You're
I'm
on a
telling you,
sphere.
Chaiki.
There's
Chaiki, I'm
no
telling you that
escaping
if
it.
I
You change orientation.
Chaiki,
Okay,
I'm telling you,
Brian, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second, Brian. I want you to talk to Stingray.
Down to the ground.
I want Brian, no, please. This will work.
No, man,
I want you to talk to Brian. Brian, I'm sorry, Brian. I want you to talk to Stingray, and I want you to describe where you want him to move the
What
ball.
you're saying when I drop down to the ground, that either my parallel line with the equator
Brian, we don't understand what you're saying. Take what Stingray's presented and show us where to point his mouse and where to move the cursor in order to get what you're describing, because you're not giving us pictures with your words. Your words are
tried that 100 times. We won't do it. So listen, wait, just follow me. So when I get to 20 degrees north, okay, my parallel line, my line of sight is still parallel with the equator, but the ground's angled underneath me. The ground is angled. So when I drop down to the ground, listen, goddamn, dude, it's a simple question. When I drop down to the ground, okay, does my east change, or does the sun's direction change? Which changes when I drop down to the ground and change angle?
So look at this, Brian. So this is the 20 degree
like
thing.
I never even asked the question.
So are you ready? No, you've just asked it. So this is.
I'm asking for an answer. Which one changes?
I'm showing you the answer. It's here on screen. It's actually here on screen. It's here. This is the answer. It's here on screen. So this one here, the second one up, is the 20 degree. It's probably slightly off, but near enough 20. We can see now, I get what you're on about, the orientation of the individual here is now on a sphere at a different orientation to when you were at the equator, which now means that your slice, if you continued this direction and not east, if you continued this direction, star fixed, you would move towards the equator like this intersection shows you. It is so simple. So simple. Parallel at different orientations, intersection. It is so simple. I'm losing my voice.
Right, but okay, so hold on. I know what's up.
Stingray, don't burn yourself, bro. I already scheduled it.
A little bit better,
in 1
man.
hour.
Hopefully y'all hear. Sorry.
I already scheduled it in 1 hour, Stingray. Don't burn yourself, man.
He's losing his voice. But my point is when I drop down, okay, so my line is parallel with the equator, okay, if I keep the same orientation. Okay, so if I keep the same orientation, then my line of sight stays parallel. So when I get to 20 degrees north, that line of sight is going to be directly over 20 degrees north latitude. It's not going to diverge. It's not going to converge or diverge because I've kept the same orientation, and all the longitude lines are parallel at one point in time. Okay, so when I drop down to the ground, okay, which changes? Okay, does the latitude, does my east change? Are you going to curve my line of sight east, or are you going to change the direction of the sun? Because if I move away, if I change, that line moves, I'm no longer going to be looking at the sun.
All these lines are parallel. Every single one of these lines is parallel.
I agree.
And they're doing
the sun's
exactly
rays are not. The sun's rays aren't parallel there.
Nope, the sun rays. Those are the sun rays. Every one of them is parallel.
I think he thinks his height makes a difference.
No, I'm just trying to get y'all to think in 3 dimensions, man. I'm trying to get you to think. I'm trying to get you to think if it's flat, and then put you on a 3rd dimension. So to get you to think in 3 dimensions, I got to start you off on 2 dimensions, then convert you to the 3rd dimension.
We're already on 3 dimensions.
I'm getting yourself flat, Brian. I want you to see, to do this work, that everyone looks east on a flat surface. On what kind of flat surface would that be? Due east in the morning and due west in the evening. Everywhere on Earth.
What?
Not
I
on
heard
the
due
globe.
east in the
showed you
morning.
It's very easy on the globe. Now show us how you do it on a flat surface. On what kind of world? How would our world be that everyone look east at the same time, in the morning and west in the evening? How could that happen on flat Earth?
Well, because east diverge. Because if the sun is doing circles, then east and west converge and diverge. So it'd take a little refraction. You'd have to have some refraction to go along with it. I'll admit that.
Some refraction.
The old left-right refraction.
I mean,
we have a lot of that.
If you figure the sun, never gets you never see it more than 6,000 miles away from you.
On a flat Earth,
and there's your problem. There's your problem with a 6,000 mile away sun, and you're separated on the surface of the Earth. To think that you're going to not have you can't all be looking east if the sun is only 6,000 miles away.
Why is that?
Try it. Put it on a flat Earth. Put a circle on your flat Earth. And then try and measure 6,000 miles.
Listen, on a flat Earth, my east is absolutely toward the equator. And if I'm south of the equator, my east is still toward the equator. That's how that works on a flat Earth. I don't see how that works on a globe.
Whenever is east from any latitude heading towards the equator and remaining east as opposed to heading off in a great circle?
No, that's not the argument. The remaining east part ain't the argument. The argument is the equinox, everybody looking east, okay? If everybody's looking east, okay, and the sun rises, then we all have to be looking parallel with each other. So latitude lines are parallel with the equator. Okay. But you can't have latitude lines converging in reality if I head east. Okay. And I don't maintain east. I just head east and I'm in a dead reckon east. You try and say that east converges toward the equator. Okay. But that would mean that if I was south of the equator and north of the equator, one person on each side, then our lines of sight are converging at the equator, just 6,000 or 7,000 miles away.
Again,
okay, here's the point. Here's a point. Here's a point. Here's a point. Like you said, are the lines of latitude are parallel, and when you're looking edge on, or the orthographic view from far away, looking at the equator, right over the equator, all the lines of latitude are parallel. Right on an AE map, all the lines of latitude are concentric. You see a problem there?
No, it's got to be that way. It's up on a globe, Larry. If I dead reckon from 45 degrees north, okay, if I pick east and I dead reckon, I will hit the equator, right? Like right about the
no, you
around
hit
a quarter
the sun.
way around the
Wait a
globe.
minute, he's got a point.
In fact, exactly a quarter way around the globe.
Okay,
I will hit the equator, right?
And the point being that while you're in that heading in a constant direction toward the equator, you're only going east for the very first mile. Every mile after that, you're going progressively southeast. Right. So that's called a great circle. That's called a great circle.
I agree with you, Larry.
That's called, So you agree with the great circle. The great circle. That's great.
No, listen, I agree with that, man.
A great circle great circle does not exist on an AE map.
Okay, now besides AE map, okay, if I in 6,000 miles, I dead reckon, okay, I'm not following east. I pick east the way we all see the sunrise on the equinox. We all see it at exact east, okay, and where the sun rises. So if I converge with the equator in about 6,000 miles, or exactly a quarter of a globe at 45 degrees, then any further than that, and me and the person in the south crisscross, and his line of sight is looking past the equator, and my is looking below the equator, and the guy at the equator is still looking straight ahead. So you can't say that all of our east.
No, you cross the sun, not at the equator.
No, so you're saying that my
sun,
east.
right?
Hold on. You're saying my east doesn't cross the equator until 93 million miles.
No, it crosses the sun.
So which is it? Is my east converging at the equator on Google Maps,
However, if you continue this direction that you choose, east, on the surface of the Earth, don't deviate right or left, you will get to the equator.
All right, guys.
Chikey. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we've beat a dead horse.
We had it for a while now. You guys can stay as long as you want. I'm just gonna wrap up the live stream for YouTube. I already have a schedule in 1 hour, like 50 minutes. Rachi 50 and Stingray are gonna have a discussion. Hopefully, you both show up. The schedule is up. The show will kick off right on time, and hopefully you two can join us in Discord. We'll go into a 1v1 room, just 3 people, you, me, and her, and we'll do a live stream, and hopefully everybody enjoy it on YouTube. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you guys over here on Discord. I really appreciate you guys' support. I'm gonna get out of here. I'll see you in an hour. Boom.